in this monkey for now, Frankenstein?
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
Why, a 4-year-old child could understand this report. Run out and find me a 4-year-old child. I can't make head or tail out of it. Farabelli, you've got the brain of a 4-year-old boy, and I bet he was glad to get rid of it.
My fate is up to you.
Now, I'd be shitting my pants if I was you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Logged It. I am your host, Tim Brzakala. And today's topic, the Dirty 30. We're getting everybody's top 30 movies of all time. Just to let you off the top, I am coming down from my second COVID shot. So if I'm a little punchy, a little groggy throughout the episode, just bear with me. We'll get through it together. But let's go to who won last week. I was trying to remember. I couldn't.
This guy,
Zach Ford. Yeah, I thought that was your win last week. Zach, was that your big turnaround? You going to ride that wave all the way down here through the home stretch, or?
I don't think it's my turnaround, but it was the highlight of my whole life, honestly. Nothing has been a greater accomplishment than winning a random 4th week in a top 100 countdown.
I'm glad you appreciate that appropriately. Cody, second place last week, I think.
Sure, yeah.
How you coming back with a vengeance tonight? Do you feel like you're going to come back with stronger?
I feel. I mean, I put Godfather 2, and it meant an absolute jack shit. So, I think tonight. Well, this week is the one call before the storm, because next week we go one apiece each movie, and it like builds the tension and builds the anger in people. So, especially that they have that high. So this is the last week before I think you accept even ridiculous movies, even this high. I think the next 2 weeks are going to be very violent. So everybody enjoy your safety this week, I guess I would say.
All right, Brian, I think we're wearing close to matching shirts. Not quite, but matching shirts today. How you feel about your 10 movies this week?
I feel good about them, of course, because they're on my list. There's, I think, 2 of them that I'm probably going to get a lot of shit for from at least a few of the people here. The rest of them, I think we're at the point now from here on, anybody who knows me, none of these are going to be a surprise to most people. So,
all right, and Ethan, coming down to the wire here, buddy. Does the list get more Ethan or less Ethan as we go along here?
This week's very Ethan.
Great.
I mean, I'm looking at my list right now. This is a strong list.
What's the penis count at?
Honestly, I don't know. We'll see as we go through them, but I don't know if there's any penises in these. Unfortunately, we'll see though.
Listen,
all female cast.
The audience,
weird.
The audience was promised penises, and if you're not going to provide them,
Weekly
you need to find another show.
Don't say that. He might stand up and whip his out.
Well, that's a show. That would be a top 100.
Spoiler alert: there are more penises coming. I don't know about this week though, so don't worry.
Maybe bad choice of words, but okay.
Well, stay tuned to see if we get our weekly dose of peen. We're going to start with Cody. You were 30 through 28.
All right, so my 30 is 2013's The Wolf of Wall Street. My 29 is Doubt. And my 28 is Almost Famous.
Yikes.
Okay. I knew that one was going to be, so we're good. Yeah. So there's a trend. I like Scorsese films. I'm a huge Scorsese nut. And I think there's a lot of De Niro, Scorsese, but I think in the 2000s and 2010s, Scorsese really found, when he started working with Leo, a dynamic relationship that really paid off. This movie is not for everybody. It's all about excess. It's all about this guy that no one likes at all. No one you're not supposed to like, but I find mesmerized by watching this entire movie with him. The fact that he didn't win an Oscar is almost the most insane thing I've ever seen. I said it last night on Logged In, but I think he deserves just crawl into his car on Ludes. The way he acts from start to finish and has character development, like how he starts as just a guy just trying this stuff out to becoming the actual Wolf of Wall Street. Descent into Madness. I think Scorsese shoots us great. I think Jonah Hill. The story behind Jonah Hill just wanting to work with Scorsese and took like actors minimum to be on this film is kind of crazy, and I think he's fantastic. Rob Reiner in this movie as his dad is like one of my favorite like supporting characters, like cameo appearances. Like he shows up like twice, but it's fantastic. And then Doubt. Doubt is a movie that I didn't expect to like or know much about before I saw it. Boatman recommended it, and he said, "Don't." I did a double feature, and he said, "Don't end with this movie," and I ended with it, and it like left me up thinking the rest of the night. Philip Seymour Hoffman, Meryl Streep, Viola Davis, and Amy Adams in this movie are it's just this gut punch of a movie that still to this day I have doubt about, no pun intended, but I do. Like, I don't know how the ending actually, if it's correct or not. Like, it's crazy. Viola Davis shows up for 2 scenes and literally like steals the show. Meryl Streep after this famously said, "Give this woman a movie," because she hadn't worked up into much things until at that point. So yeah, Doubt. I don't want to say too much because it's kind of a spoiler. Like, it's very hinging on the ending and what happens. But yeah, if you haven't seen Doubt, I highly suggest it.
All right, Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat. I'm a big Scorsese guy. Just a very different take on like the whole criminal underworld. Like it's you don't think of it as being as in that vein of movies, but it definitely is. And yes, Scorsese just makes despicable people relatable. That's kind of his biggest strength. And no one else, I think, could get you to watch 3 hours of just such a hateable guy and just be on board for the whole thing, and just kind of like explore that world again. Like, I like movies that show me a world that I'm never going to see firsthand, and just that world of finance and that of high finance, and just the dirty underbelly of it and what they're willing to do to get ahead.
Go ahead. Sorry, I'm just like,
go. Go ahead.
The way they're able to teach like the financial stuff to it, like of stocks and stuff that most people don't have a real understanding of it. He doesn't like Tony Scott beat you over the head with all the terminology. They actually break it down, but not in like a class way of like, oh, this is what this is.
He gives you what you need to
understand, to
get through it. But yeah, I was gonna say McConaughey is great in his scene, and just like the role he plays to kind of hit in Jordan's turn is really good, but the whole supporting cast is great. Great movie, great pick. 29 Doubt. I had not seen this movie. I watched it this week for the show, and I loved it. It was a really, really good movie. I just went in. I didn't know much about it. I knew the very basic premise, but I didn't know the rules the character played. So I started watching it, and I see Meryl Streep's character. I'm like, oh, she's the like uptight religious conservative. Of course, she's going to be the bad guy because that's movies, and it's going to be Amy Adams fighting her to get the truth out. And then that scene where she sits down and she gets that first like hit of something appropriate, and immediately she's like, "We got to bring him down." I'm like, "Oh wow, that's interesting." That things just took a turn there, and then then as it goes on, like maybe she's not the good guy. Like it's such a nuanced way to handle this whole topic, and you don't get that in a lot of movies in general, but especially stuff that deal with like the church and religion. And it's just so realistic because having been involved in like leadership positions in churches before, that scene where they bring him in and they start talking about the Christmas pageant, and they're like, and then they kind of like it turns, and he's like, "Wait a minute, are we talking about the Christmas pageant? Or are we talking about this?" Like, "Oh, we're here to talk about this." And that's so real. Like when you don't want to address something with somebody, the way it gets danced around, and yeah. Everybody's so good in this, but Meryl Streep, this might be one of her favorite characters of mine that she's ever created.
Yeah.
And her and Hoffman going head to head, just the two of them, the scenes they have together are so good. So yeah, I really, really like this one. Real quick, everybody on Wolf of Wall Street.
You know me, I'm not a huge Scorsese fan, but this is actually one of those that I really enjoy. I think a lot of that's due to the cast. I think that not only Leonardo DiCaprio, but everybody else in that does a great job. And yeah, I appreciate, like Cody was talking about, how they really kind of for people that aren't in the financial like stock or anything like that, they really do kind of make it so you can kind of understand what's going on without like hitting you over the head with it. So I like that.
Yeah, this movie is one that like kind of went back and forth for me like every time I saw it, but then I did land on like really liking it, and it's one that like people had talked about how Leah should have won the Oscar for this one, and I was like, no. But then I rewatched it thinking that, and I was like, wow, yeah, this is like his best performance, and that's a shame. But a shame that he didn't win it for this. Not that it's not a shame that it's his best performance. Yeah, it's great. I think it's like still a little too long. I like long movies. I just think sometimes they don't earn all of the length, and I feel like this movie can cut down a little bit. I know it's about excess, but it feels like it goes a bit too long with it. But yeah, it's a great movie. It's fun, and it's fun to see a bunch of like college bros taking the wrong message out of a Scorsese movie again, and putting posters of the Wolf of Wall Street up in their dorms, which I knew people who did that.
You're not wrong.
I like the movie quite a bit, but this seems to be one that grew a lot. Its reputation grew a lot with time, so I think really rewarded by rewatches, which I've never given it. So maybe I don't have the full appreciation for it after one view, especially since it has some like real hangout vibes that I think benefit the more rewatches.
All right, anybody have anything to say about that one?
I haven't seen it.
Haven't seen it.
I have it marked on Letterboxd as watched, but I don't remember it. Must have been a while. Okay.
All right, Ethan, that takes us to your bottom three.
All right, my number 30 tonight is Alien. My number 29 is In Bruges.
Yeah.
And my number 28 is Casablanca, which I believe was previously yikes.
Yes.
All right, so Alien. This movie is a perfect film. It is an incredible horror movie. It's an incredible sci-fi movie. It is terrifying. It is exciting in the second half. It's got a really, really great slow build. This movie is like, it knows what to do for horror. It's like, I'm going to introduce you to all your characters. You're going to like all of them. They're going to have a great dynamic together. You're going to understand their dynamic. You're going to like seeing them interact. So then when we do get to the killing and we do get to the murder and the horror, that's when you start to care and you get stressed out and you get afraid. That's how you do effective horror. It has some great twists that I won't spoil if anyone watching hasn't seen Alien yet, which, what are you doing? Go watch Alien. But it has good twists with a really simple premise. There's an alien on a spaceship. Like, that's the premise. But the whole cast is great. All the characters are interesting. That dinner scene is like, it's still like one of the best ever. It's so good. Yeah, I mean the creature effects, the actual alien costume, it's great. This movie proves that you just need one scary alien with a few people fighting it to be great. You don't need any more than one alien. You don't need people with machine guns. You need one alien on a ship and some people being crafty and trying to fight it. That's all you need for a good alien movie. This movie's incredible. I love it.
Did nobody else have Alien? Oh, that's a shame. I'm sorry, Ethan. Go ahead.
Anyway, my number 29, In Bruges. Martin McDonagh's movie, In Bruges. It is one of the funniest dark comedies I've ever seen. The first time I ever saw this movie, I just like fell in love instantly. It is Colin Farrell and Brendan Gleeson have some of the best chemistry you'll ever see. Specifically for like the type of like kind of crime duo that you get a lot, where they kind of like seem like they hate each other, but really they love each other. It's so fun to watch them interact and just walk around this beautiful city of Bruges while Colin Farrell talks about how shitty it is. Ralph Fiennes is one of the best villains of all time in any crime movie in this movie. He is so funny, and the central idea behind his character is that he wants to, I don't think it's really a spoiler. He's coming after the main character just based on principles. He's like, his whole thing in this movie is about principles and what he simply cannot let go based on what happens at the beginning of the movie, which I won't spoil because it's really great. This movie has so many good like setups and payoffs, particularly dealing with something that just happened at the beginning and that idea of principles. The violence is like really brutal, and when it hits, it really hits hard. So you really feel it, and I think it has one of the best endings for a dark comedy ever, especially with the way it goes out and the themes that it's been playing with the whole movie. And then my number 28, Casablanca. This movie is one that I'd heard about for years, and I was always like, that's one of those movies that everyone says is the best movie ever. Citizen Kane, Casablanca, whatever. And then I finally watched it one night, and I was like, "Wow, that movie is incredible! It's a movie from the '40s that has, it's like genre defying. It's like it's got romance, it's got comedy, it's a war movie, it's got a little bit of action, it's a spy movie. Like it has all of that, and it's a perfect version of all those things. All the characters are great. I mean, Rick is such an interesting protagonist, and it's so fun to get these little like teases out of backstory with like old history. I love stuff like that, and then you actually dive into that old history and see how that happened and kind of how it affects the rest of the plot. It's such a perfect script. You care about all the characters. It's sad. The music is beautiful. There's so many iconic moments, and the ending is, people know, like the ending line is one of the best in history. This movie earns its status as like one of the best movies of all time.
Yeah, and so I had this at 34 or 33. I don't have time to look back at it. This movie is sexy. I would button down some buttons, but my shirt was already unbuttoned. But it is one of the steamiest, most like repressed sexual movies of the 1940s. So people just want to fuck the whole time. You feel like and they just can't. This one we live Paris, aka Get Down. What I think is kind of undersung about this movie is just like how deep the cast is. This has the perfect like classic supporting cast. I think it just doesn't get talked about because classic actors don't have the name as much as the modern ones will. But the supporting cast having the best threesome in movies, threesome as far as actors. The threesomes in movies is Bogart, Greenstreet, and Laurie. Just like the perfect combination of like oddballs that work together. They're also in Maltese Falcon together. And another one I can't remember right now. But having P. Laurie, Cindy Greenstreet, S.E. Stackle, and Conrad Veidt and Claude Rains, it's all like some of the best supporting actors of the time. And I've talked a lot on other shows about how like actors in classic Hollywood just had these like really weird specific looks that no one looks like these guys do anymore. No one looks like Peter Lorre in a movie anymore. And I think it really aids to the like interest in the movie and the engagement and the ability what they can do with these characters. Casablanca, it's timeless. I saw it Valentine's Day at the Music Box in Chicago. I recommend that. So I wouldn't travel to Chicago when next time Music Box is open and watch Casablanca on Valentine's Day.
You're muted, Kirk.
Okay, we'll go back to Alien. Definitely the best Alien movie. Not close at all. It's Alien, and then everything else is down here somewhere. But yeah, it's just such a great like genre bender. I mean, it's basically like gothic horror in space. It just does so much. I love that blue collar working class sci-fi vibe and tone that it has. The supporting cast is great. Harry Dean Stanton, Yaphet Kotto, all the whole cast. John Hurt. I just love the fact that like they're not scientists. They're not scientists who are trying to figure this out. They're just regular people who are trying to survive. And it's so great. It is such a slow burn, and And when it takes off, like you said, Ethan, it's so good. That alien is so scary. I just love the idea that of a monster that even when you hurt it, it's dangerous. Like even if you're able to cut it open, you're still screwed. Because it's going to have acid poured out of your body. That's just such a great little touch for a monster. But yeah, I mean this is the perfect one. Just one monster hunting a group of people down. Unstoppable, indestructible, and they got to figure out how to beat it. So yeah, that's good pick. Disappointed everybody else didn't have it. In Bruges, yeah, it's another great movie. A lot of great dialogue. Colin Farrell and what's his name? Brendan Gleeson are so great together, and then when you bring Ray Fiennes in, he just adds so much to it. Really fun crime like comedy, but not done in like a real like the comedy is very organic. It's not jokey or anything. It's just funny characters and situations, but still overall very serious situation, and that's a lot of fun. And yeah, Casablanca's great. I always say about Casablanca, it's my favorite opening 10 minutes to a movie ever. Like it does such a great job of just building that world and showing you exactly what you're going to get. And what's going to happen through the rest of the movie within that world, like the rules and the stakes that are set up. It's so good. So many great moments, like the La Marseillaise scene with the French national anthem, where they start singing that for, like the competing songs, the German and the French, and just the emotion of the supporting cast there, like the French woman who was like kind of like cavorting with the Germans, and like that in that moment you see her face and like she's crying. So good. And like Zach said, the supporting cast, Claude Rains is amazing. Peter Lorre's great. Sidney Greenstreet's great. So yeah, it is very close to a perfect movie. I really like this one. Everybody else on, we'll start with Alien real quick.
Ethan, I know you're sitting there and you're like, yes, I had a movie that no one else had. I'm winning this week. That doesn't mean jack shit on this show. Second, I almost put this on my list. It was really close. It would have been in my bottom half. Just because I still battle, because I still think Alien is the better movie between Aliens and Alien. I have fun with both in different ways, but yeah, it's a fantastic movie. It deserves to be on the list. So.
Zach's trying to be muted.
He did that earlier, and no one picked up on it, and I did, and I was waiting for him to do it again, and he did.
I'm blaming Brian for not talking over me at that point. Ethan usually saves me on those.
Well, I was going to talk, but it would have been even ruder when you can't even tell that I'm talking over you.
Anyways, Alien, my opinions are not as strong as they are about Aliens, but there's still like something I'm just missing about these movies. I still find like a lot of the dialogue really clunky and the characterization's really clunky. I think this movie looks a lot better. And it's gonna be, I only watched it once, and I can give it a rewatch, but it threw me off a little bit. It's still just like, even though it's 79, there's still something just like so 80s-ish about it that holds it back for me. It's like pre-80s, 80s.
The 70s?
It's the old. it just has like 80s vibes.
I think people have this misconception that I don't like Alien, and I do. I really like Alien quite a bit, actually. I prefer Aliens. Like I said before, one of the things I like about this franchise is when they put a different director on each movie, kind of gave you kind of a different feel, a different angle on this whole universe. Ridley Scott obviously did this one. He did a great job. I wish it was the only one he did. Let's just say that. Because when he came back, it wasn't good.
I agree.
But yeah, it's a good movie. It just wouldn't make my top 100.
All right. In Bruges. Let's do In Bruges.
I love In Bruges. I'm kind of mad I didn't have it on my list. This is one that like it moved everywhere from like 50 to 100 for the most part. And then I don't know how it ended up not on the list. It was a mistake, if anything. This is a movie that when the trailer first came out, it was horrible. It looked stupid. It's the worst marketing ever. I had no interest in it. Went and saw it. Loved every minute of it. Especially Colin Farrell, who it's almost like a childlike performance he kind of gives in this movie. It just does such an excellent job in this. So I mean, even just with a simple shrug, I mean, it's great acting. So I mean, I love this movie.
I like it. Mute yourself, sir. I like the movie. I think it's okay. I don't love it as much as some people. It was a little overhyped when I got to it. I didn't watch it when it came out, but I know Koho was a big fan of it. He talked it up a little bit to me and some other people, and it just didn't like live to that same hype that I wanted to. But it could go up on a rewatch. It's not a bad movie by any means. It's definitely an Ethan choice for top 30. So, sir.
Mine was an absolute mistake. He said this. Oh wait, this wasn't on my top 100. I really should have been on my top 100. I think it just missed my brainstorm list somehow. I love it a lot. So when it came out for a while, it probably would have been in my top 20. I think it's just so smart in its characterizations, and then the Brendan Gleeson performance is at least top tier Brendan Gleeson, because all his three best performances are in my favorite performances of all time. Might be one of the best actors we have working. We need to acknowledge this, but I think it's such a unique character that he's able to create. Colin Farrell got a lot of acclaim, but I think his was really just a fine touch of this artsy, cultured assassin trying to deal with the chaos that Colin Farrell is bringing into everything.
All right, and Cody and Brian, a couple seconds each on Casablanca.
Yeah,
It's
Casablanca.
I'm done. Go ahead.
I knew what I was going to say. I watched this for the first time last year. I always was scared to watch this movie because it's a perfect movie, as a lot of people put it. I really enjoyed it. I'm a huge Humphrey Bogart fan. I will watch anything that man's in. even when he's bad. I just think back then he could just command a screen. So Casablanca lived up to the hype of what everybody put it as. It just needs more rewatches to make my top 100.
All right. Okay, Brian, give us your 30 through 28.
My 30 is 1991's animated Beauty and the Beast. There's the X from earlier. My number 29 is Pirates of the Caribbean: Curse of the Black Pearl. And my number 28 is Saving Private Ryan.
Previous yikes.
All right.
So Beauty and the Beast, in like the 70s and 80s, Disney was kind of, in a slump, not exactly their most successful time. With Little Mermaid, they kind of started their journey back to greatness. By the time we hit 1991, Beauty and the Beast basically cemented that the 90s, in my opinion, and a lot of people's, was kind of the golden age for Disney movies. This is a movie that, not only had a great story, had a great, it had Oscar. It was the first animated movie nominated for Best Picture Oscar. It had a great score and soundtrack by Alan Menken and Howard Ashman, which had like 3 nominated songs, I think, plus the score won, and one of the songs won. This is an animated movie. This is like right before Aladdin, I was talking about last week. This one didn't rely on celebrity voices. I mean, your biggest name in this movie was Angela Lansbury. I mean, other than that, you had Paige O'Hara and Robbie Benson were your lead vocals. So it wasn't something needed to cash in a celebrity. It just was on its own merit, just on the beauty of the animation, which I really miss 2D animation, and of course, and the story and the music. I thought this is just pretty much a perfect animated movie. That's all I have to say.
All right, who else?
I had it. Did you have it, Zach? Okay, I didn't know. I thought you guys. I wasn't sure. I'm sorry. You're the old timer.
I was muted, so I couldn't give up.
Was the best.
Sorry for rub with my face.
When animated films were animated films, not this young shit. Okay, I love Beauty and the Beast. I think Beauty and the Beast is a fantastic animated movie. It's my third in the 90s. It just falls a little bit lower than the other two. But yeah, this one just is my childhood. I'll make Brian go, oh God, I was born this year. So like it always has like a special spot. Lumiere, I think the side characters are way better than the actual story. Like it was something really interesting with all those side characters, Lumiere and Cogsworth. I've seen this movie a million times. The songs are outstanding. I think I think it's got one of the best Disney villains in it too, and the 90s is the best for Disney, and it's not even close. Sorry, Zach. Go watch Pinocchio.
Sounds lovely.
No, thank you.
All right, Brian, you're 29.
29 was Pirates of the Caribbean. This is a movie I had zero expectations for going into this one. I mean, it's a movie based on a theme park ride, which just seems like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel for ideas for movies. The pirate genre hadn't been successful for it hadn't been a successful movie in decades. Hasn't been as a whole genre hadn't been popular since like Errol Flynn, Douglas Fairbanks days. So I went into this one expecting nothing. The trailer kind of made you perk your head up. It looked very interesting. It looked adventurous. It looked kind of fun. And then when I saw the movie, I just loved it. I mean, this is a movie that had a real sense of adventure to it. Had a sense of fun. Johnny Depp created an iconic character in Captain Jack Sparrow, which I know some people like Cody didn't like as much as the series went on. But really, for this first movie, he basically created this character kind of unlike really anything you'd seen before. It was completely unexpected for what people thought was going to be Johnny Depp playing a pirate. And I mean, he was nominated for an Oscar for it because I thought his performance was that good. You also had Orlando Bloom coming off Lord of the Rings. You had Keira Knightley showing, for the first time, really she could do something besides be, Natalie Portman's decoy. Jeffrey Rush as Barbossa. I mean, everybody from top to bottom of this cast, they were having a ton of fun, you could tell, and it really helped. I also love the score by Hans Zimmer. It'll say Klaus Badelt, but it's not. Basically, Hans Zimmer wrote the themes and had Klaus do the technical work for it because he even reuses a lot of Hans Zimmer's themes from like Drop Zone and Gladiator and some other movies, but it doesn't change the fact that it's probably one of the most rousing and memorable scores of like the last 20 years. So yeah, I mean, it's a movie that I just was completely surprised by, and it continues to be up here near the top of my list.
All right. I think you're the one with that. So your next one?
And Saving Private Ryan. I tend to gravitate more towards fun Spielberg than serious Spielberg. This is kind of the one exception for me because I mean this is rightfully considered one of the best war movies of all time. People talk a lot about that first half hour, and yes, that first half hour is jaw dropping. I mean, it puts you right in the scene. It puts you right on the beach to kind of feel, a small portion of what it was really like to be there with just people dropping like flies all around you, and the it's impossible, hopeless task that was asked of these people, and how many people died for it to make it happen. But the rest of the movie is not really any less impressive. I mean, it slows down in pace. I mean, there are obviously more battle scenes later, but it's more of a almost kind of a road movie following these soldiers as they go looking for Private Ryan. And but I mean, the acting in it is great. Tom Hanks, I think, does some of his best work here as like this math teacher who's basically been dragged into this war, and now he's responsible for these young men's lives, and you can kind of see how that weighs on him. But that supporting cast full of everybody from Barry Pepper and Tom Sizemore and Vin Diesel, Paul Giamatti's in there, young Nathan Fillion. It's just they assembled a great cast even to the smallest parts of this movie. The only thing I didn't like about the movie, I think the beginning and ending epilogue with the old man, I feel unnecessary to the movie. I think it was only there as a misdirect because, they fade out on him and into Tom Hanks. So you think it's him, to try and fool you that he doesn't die at the end. Spoilers. But yeah, I mean, this is a movie that got a ton of acclaim and it deserves every bit of it.
All right. Who else had Saving Private Ryan? You did.
Anyway, did. Oh.
Damn it. I thought it wouldn't happen to me. I had it. I think it was in my top 10, my bottom 10. I'm not sure for my 190, but yeah, I mean, I agree with everything Brian said. I do actually agree too. I'm not a huge fan of the bookends on the movie. Feels a little unnecessary, and I guess like the point of it's to show that like the mission wasn't for nothing. It was like it led to this, but yeah, overall, I mean, it's such a. I also agree with Brian. Like usually, I lean towards like the more whimsical, I guess, Spielberg movies. But this movie is just like, it's so good. It's so visceral, and like the violence is really, really well used. The fight scenes are incredible. The cast is insane. It's so stacked. That whole scene with Barry Pepper and the rival sniper or whatever is like one of the best, most tense scenes I've seen in an action movie ever. Yeah, everything about this movie is great. The scene with the German soldier and they make him like dig the hole or whatever. Steamboat Willie, that whole scene, like that stuff's all great. Yeah, it's a type of movie that I feel like I'm surprised Spielberg could make. Like it doesn't seem like the kind of thing he would do and do effectively, but he just nailed it. Yes, it's one of the best war movies we have ever received, I think.
Okay, Beauty and the Beast. It's good. I mean, it's a very charming movie. It's fun. Like you said, Cody, my favorite parts of it are the supporting cast, I think. But I just don't. I mean, I think everybody knows that I really don't connect on a real deep personal level to animated movies in general. So this isn't something that's going to make my top 100. But I mean, if you're into animated, I mean, this is on a technical level anyway, one of the all-time best. So I'm not going to hold you get you guys too much for having that on there. 29. Curse of the Black Pearl. I really like this movie. Like you said, Brian, it's a theme park ride. It shouldn't have worked, but it did. Just a really great adventure, with the pirates and the magic. Does a really great job of like capturing that Disney feel of like that old school like Disney magic adventure type stuff. Johnny Depp is great. He created a fantastic character. This isn't my favorite Pirates movie, but if you say it's yours, I'm fine. I completely understand because it's just a little more, self-contained than the rest. And it's I don't know if it's a smaller story, but it's like I said, just its own thing. So it's not, like I said, not my favorite, not on my top 100, but it's definitely a movie that deserves to be on the top 100. So that's a solid pick. And then Saving Private Ryan. Again, this is one that I like more than I respect, or respect more than I like. Not that I dislike it. I think I appreciate more on a technical level than I, connect to it on a personal level. So I respect the achievement. The D-Day stuff is fantastic. Everything else after that, like I like how it's the rest of the movie is kind of episodic. Like they go from like scenario to scenario and kind of have to work their way through each one. but it's one I haven't seen in a long time. It's not if it's on TV or something like I'll might watch it for a little bit, but it's not something I seek out to watch. Just frequently. Again, because I mean it's a pretty emotionally draining movie, so it's not something you just watch for fun.
It'll be on again soon. They play it every June all over the place. So.
Yeah. So Ethan and Zach on Beauty and the Beast.
This is the part of the show where I get to say that I don't like Disney animated musicals because I don't really like Disney animated musicals. This one is it's one of the good ones, I guess. Like it's a good version of that. I just can't really get into those very much, unfortunately. The live action version is way better. I'm kidding. I haven't seen it. I just wanted to piss you guys off for a second.
I haven't seen it in forever, but my main takeaway is they took the weirdest ass shit. There's like people as lamps, and they, the whole, oh my gosh, Stockholm syndrome shit. Which I'm not saying this is a horrible thing, but when you have this weird ass shit, you need to embrace it and do some weird things. But somehow they make the tame, they dull it down so much to the most like family friendly version, which Disney movie's fine, but you gotta do at least some wacko stuff. I like my pink elephants and acid trips Disney stuff, and they need some acid trip stuff here. But yeah, that's my main issue with it. Otherwise I don't really remember too much.
Zach wanted to see a sausage party style orgy with all the feather dusters and lamps and things.
Yeah. Where's the clock's dick?
I would be into that, honestly.
Of course you would.
Everybody on Curse of the Black Pearl.
So I'm just really confused. He had the third one. He had this one. So if this is his favorite, does he hate? Do you have the second one, or is that one? We'll find out, I guess.
I never said favorite. Just saying that.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, this is just effing weird. Okay, I love the first two of these movies. I really do. I still find a lot of fun in both of them. The first one is something just totally unexpected that still holds up to this day. Barbossa is one of my favorite characters in this series because he actually tries. I think Jeffrey Rush tries this entire time as this character. He's like, I know I'm getting a paycheck, I'm gonna do it. But yeah, the whole just taking the ride that I rode at Disney, and when I heard this was coming out, I was like, what the hell are they gonna do? They're able to do it. And they were able to milk that thing for 5 movies, and apparently they're rebooting it. So, hats off to you, Johnny Depp set for life. But he was set before this, but even more now. So,
really, Amber is.
I still do not say that he deserves the Oscar for his performance as Jack Sparrow. I'm sorry, I will not stand for that. So, yeah,
I don't know if he deserved the Oscar for it. He definitely deserves a nomination.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
I also haven't seen this since I was 14. I loved it then, but the sequels ruined any motivation for me to kind of go back to it.
This movie's still great. The first one, even without, I actually happen to like the second one a lot, but yeah, this first one's great. It's a fantastic introduction to this really fun world. Like Brian said, I know the score was a little bit some bits and pieces were inspired here and there, but it's a great score. It really, really is. All the performances are great. There's such fun characters. It's when Jack Sparrow was cool and fun, not annoying and overused. The sword fights are great. Jeffrey Rush is incredible. The whole the idea that there's zombie pirates is just such a fun idea to play with. And it also for a Disney movie, it's pretty violent, and there's some dark stuff they touch on because they're pirates and they don't shy away from the pirate stuff, which is something that I feel we're lacking in Disney movies now. But it's this one was good.
All right, Zach and Cody on Saving Private Ryan.
I think I fall in where Kirk's thing is. I respect this movie more than I love this movie, but it's been a while since I watched it. And I mean, Shakespeare in Love is clearly better than this film, so that's just out there. So yeah, I'll do a rewatch probably because I would like to see it, but yeah, I haven't seen it in a while.
I enjoyed it a lot more in my second watch, I think, because the first time you're so caught off guard by the beginning that you're kind of left shaken for a bit, but I could really feel my way through the second half, which I have learned to prefer in a way because I think of the episodic nature, just how I is part of a lot of films I enjoy, and weirdly I like prefer the action scene at the end than the action scene at the beginning. I find the beginning a little gratuitous, miss his purse, but the one at the end is really exciting, and I think serves that more specific purpose in a way.
All right. Then, Zach, let's get your 30, 29, 28.
Okay. My 30 is Once. My 29, we're really going to get in the weird-ass shit animated movies that know how to deal with weird-ass shit. We're going to go My Neighbor Totoro. And then my 28, more weird-ass kid shit, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Willy Wonka? Jesus Christ, Koho. Okay.
Little known fact, he is gone, and I am doing this from now on. So just
that is the porn version, Willy Wonka.
I did not do the banners
Really
already there. I'm just clicking.
Hey, Once. This is one of my most watched movies. I turn it on a lot, I think, because it's like 80 minutes long and functions largely as like a musical album in a way, which is, I think, how it flourishes because the songs are all so great, so beautiful. As I mentioned, talking about Glenn Hansard on the Commitments episode, that he is one of my favorite musicians, and even outside of his music with Once, there's something about his like emotional rawness that he gives in his performances and songs that is especially evident in the opening song, Say It Ain't Sunday's Paint on the Street, and he's just like laying out all the emotion, belting, into the empty streets of Dublin. That it really is what captures me in musical performances, and the movie's just full of that, of really the magic and passion and sincerity that someone can put into their songs, and has this unfulfilled romance in a way. It's really as like musical chemistry as a sense of romance itself, because the romance, only amounts itself and so far, but what really is like the baby they created is the creativity they were able to express through their relationship with each other, which I find really moving. And I think it's important to acknowledge like romance as a broader term, as like we can have these really deep, important relationships with other people that don't have to have physical activity, that they can be just as important as any other romantic relationship. And I think the movie expresses it. I wonder if Glenn Hansard, if an actor only has 2 movies to their credit, and both are in my top 50, does that make him the best actor of all time? Because I think so. He doesn't have them all in this one, though. But anyways, Once, it's the greatest. Oh, Totoro, I forgot. I don't know how the show works. My Neighbor Totoro, I've talked about, Miyazaki already a few times. This one might be his most like child friendly. I think it deals with the same kind of tough themes about, aging with, the challenges that come with growing up. A lot of his films have, this one having a sick mom and then kind of having to moving away so she could be taken care of. But, similar like Pan's Labyrinth and Where the Wild Things Are, and a lot of kids' movies, I really fall for that idea of how they you create this fantasy world to, in a way, as an act of escapism from the struggles that you're going through as a child, but also as this like alternate psychological dealing with it, because they're still kind of being, dealing with the challenges through these fantasy scenarios. And what's a better fantasy scenario than having this great fluffy guy named Totoro that you just want to like snuggle on top of that belly? Just a great friend. He was the I wrote. He gave a great speech, Totoro. I recommend you guys calling him up and hanging out with him. But the creativity with those characters, with Cat Bus, as Christopher Lie, is just like a beautiful animation and world design that only Miyazaki can do. And then my 28 was Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Don't even like bring up fucking Johnny Depp, or I'm just going to come out off the show if anyone tries to take this. But Gene Wilder, I talked about the producers, an actor I truly, truly love. And I think because he holds such a nostalgic piece of me because of how much I watched Willy Wonka, especially it's a great Thanksgiving movie. It's watched on Thanksgiving a lot, I think, because there's food and candy. But talk about embracing your weird ass shit. This movie know how to take the weird stuff in a Roald Dahl story and really flourish with it, especially with Gene Wilder singing as they're taking the boat into the land, and it really becomes this like really terrifying, tripping, and Gene Wilder knows how to act it up, and his voice gets more sinister until you come out, and it's this lovely chocolate waterfall. It's just a great play with the tone, throughout the whole movie, and then all the kids died. That's what they deserve. This movie knows how to treat shitty children, and it's important for kids to learn. If you don't act good in the chocolate factory, you're going to drown in the chocolate river. The song's sold up comedically. It's beautiful, and Roald Dahl is one of my favorite writers because I think of that, treating the kids with a sense of maturity and what they can deal with, how they can talk about real issues, but also in this twisted ass way. In this movie, I think, even though he hated this movie, I think it captured it perfectly.
Once this movie I really like. Love the music. I love the relationship in this movie. I love movies that don't put expectations on the relationships, and you can just accept the fact that some relationships are temporary, and and just enjoy the what it is. For what it is, when it happens, and then when it's over, and it's natural. A lot of movies would have to force this relationship to be successful and they could carry on. And the fact that this one just kind of, like I said, it starts and then it finishes, and it's kind of beautiful in that. So I really like that movie. My Neighbor Totoro. There are Ghibli movies I like, some better than others. This one is just such a nothing movie. Nothing happened. It's like an episode of Teletubbies. It's just like visuals and sounds to keep kids occupied. It's like there's no story, there's no character. Like I said, it's just something you put on for like a 4-year-old to keep distracted while you vacuum. That's what this. That's the only reason this movie exists. The fact that you have this above like Princess Mononoke and The Wood Rises, and a lot of the really good solid stuff that has really good story, really good characterization, is crazy. Willy Wonka is one I like. I can't remember if I had this on my top 100 last year or not, but I've always loved this movie since I was a kid. And you're right, Zach. You capture it, just how it treats kids like it's respectful. Like I remember watching this as a kid. I knew it was a kids movie, but I felt like, oh, this is I'm in on the this movie isn't talking down to me. It's for me, but it's not afraid to be weird or scary or anything like that. So it's a lot of fun, and Wilder's great in it. All the scenarios, just the chocolate factory, him on the bike, the big bubble bike and everything is so cool. Just all the stuff that goes on there. So that's definitely. I mean, the Johnny Depp one's not even worth talking about. This is just so far above, so much better. And the music's really good. I like the music in this movie, except for Cheer Up Charlie. Cheer Up Charlie is terrible. No one watches that. Everybody fast forwards it. But the rest of the music is really great. So we'll go back. I'll try to speed through these. Everybody on once.
I saw it once. I liked it. Okay, don't need to watch it again.
Sorry, Cody, go ahead.
It's a mad movie for me. I think the Falling Slowly is a great song, but overall the movie is nothing special.
Falling Slowly is like the 7th best song.
Okay, well that's an insane take. The movie is great. Falling Slowly there's a reason that's the best song in the movie. Zach, stop. The rest of the music's really good too, though. Glenn Hansard, I love him. I love the scene with the producer when he's like, ugh, these fucking guys, and then he realizes their music's great and they become buddies. It's awesome. I don't love his motivation, Glenn Hansard's motivation for leaving at the end, but that's just me. But I think the movie's great.
All right. My Neighbor Totoro.
You hit the nail right on the head when you said this movie is a nothing movie. This movie, I had to watch it for trivia. Nothing happened. Nothing. I could don't know. Cat bus, cool. Let's move on. Ghibli's not for me.
Psychos.
I haven't seen this movie yet.
I don't really want to talk because I still want Cody to not know if I ever actually watched all these Studio Ghibli movies or not.
You fucking listen. I know you didn't.
We'll just let him keep guessing.
All right, and Willy Wonka.
This movie's bad. I'm sorry, this movie is bad. Take off your nostalgia glasses. Finally, for once, this kid breaks the fucking rules and still gets the Charlie Chocolate Factory. All the kids in this are ass. And Uncle Joe can't get a job, can't do anything. But the moment he brings a golden ticket, this man does a hop, skip, and jump out of fucking bed and starts running around the room. No, he needs to run down to the local job market and get a job so they can stop eating cabbage soup. But no, he just jumps out because there's an opportunity for something free. Freeloaders? Terrible movie. Gene Wilder should have really said, you get nothing. Go home. You're a terrible kid, too. Hate this movie. I don't understand. And you say it leads into the creepiness. It does one scene of creepiness. We travel down that, and that's it. We don't do anything else weird. The fat kid gets sucked up in the tunnel. Mikey TV gets to be little, and Veruca Salt gets to be what? She gets to go down for the egg shoot. All the things that should have happened to these children.
Cody, you don't know what happens to them. They're dead. And there's Oompa Loompas. They're like,
yeah, I was going to say, Cody,
they're not dead. You don't even know they're proven dead. They're not dead.
How can you say this movie's not creepy or weird when there's a legion of little orange people with green hair carrying children?
Yeah, can we also say what's their wages? We don't know that either. Yeah, Willy Wonka's a fucking slave driver. Get over it.
No, this movie's great. The Oompa Loompas are loyal to him. They love him. He's not a slave driver.
Loyal.
This movie's great. I love the music, except for Cheer Up Charlie. I agree, Kirk. I always used to skip that as a kid. That song sucks. I love the recent resurgence online of Grandpa Joe hate. It's really funny. And Gene Wilder is an absolute psycho in this movie, and I love it. Every scene he's in, he looks like he wants to fucking kill all these children. He does. It's awesome. It's a great movie.
I'm far less passionate about it, but I agree with everything Cody said. The Grandpa Joe thing, from the first time I saw this as a kid, I was like, how can we sit there letting Charlie, serve him and stuff? But as soon as he gets to, go talk factories up and dancing about, Charlie did break the rules. Why did he get to, everyone else broke the rules, but so did he. So why does he suddenly get to win the talk factory? I don't know. Question time.
He gave back the gobstopper. He still drank the drink and went to the top. He just
as a kid, I thought I remembered liking this. I remember liking this movie as a kid, but I rewatched it several years ago, and it's really not a very good movie. Gene Wilder is great in it. There are a few good scenes and moments in it, and they're all Gene Wilder. Everything else about this movie is pretty awful.
You want to go creepy? He should have hit the fan. Just saying. Making an actual horror movie. Mud splatter in the top of the ceiling. That shit gets weird.
Can I just say it?
Oh, wait. Oh, no. Everybody on board with that one now. Yeah, welcome to the horror house. Oh, bullshit.
I just want to add, I cannot fucking wait for the Timothée Chalamet prequel to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory where he plays Willy Wonka.
Oh, Willy Wonka and Timothée Chalamet? Ooh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, that seems way too close to a depth take, and I can't handle it.
Two things that I'd rather drink bleach and play those fairy. I'd rather drink bleach.
I don't think it's going to be good, but I can't wait to fucking see it. It's going to be spectacular.
All right, Cody, we're coming back to you. Hit us with your 27.
Yeah, let's try to start early next week because this shit's going to get really long. Yeah. Okay, my number 27 is Arsenic and Old Lace. Yes, the only thing... I can't say this shit anymore. Trivia League, this is the best thing they ever gave me. This movie. It was on the round 3 of Full Metal, and I think J.D. West put it on there, which I still think is the most crazy thing ever. And this movie is batshit crazy. For 44 and this movie to come out, the concept of these old ladies just offing people and burying them in their basement, and their nephew has no clue. He comes in to visit and sees a dead body, and their son believes he's Teddy Roosevelt, and he's digging in the Panama Canal, and it is one of the most situational comedies that is just, it still works perfectly today. It's one that I now will throw on every Halloween because I think it works perfectly for the time. Cary Grant, his facial expressions sell this movie every time. When they're like, "Oh, I'll get you a drink." No, don't drink it. Insanity runs in my. Insanity doesn't run in my family. It gallops. It's just this movie. I can't talk any highly about this movie. If you haven't seen it, please go check it out. It is fantastic.
Yeah, this is a really good one, like you said, Cody, for the time. Just that concept, and the ants are great. Just how sincere they are in their mission, and how they think they're doing the right thing, and how crazy that is. And Cary Grant's really good in it. I think he said like this was like his least favorite performance that he ever did. Like he hated it, but I think it's so good. Just like the mania of like what he's trying to do, and like him coming to the realization of what they're doing to try to stop it is really good. And then is Peter Lorre's at the end of this one too, right? He's one of the with his brother.
I'm really terrible with things. Peter Lorre.
But anyway, yeah. At the end there, like you said, ending with his brother is really good. So yeah, this is on my top 100 last year. It's a really solid movie. Everybody else on
yes, Peter Lorre is on it. Yes.
I've never seen this movie, so I can't talk about it.
I watched it for the first time for trivia as well, and I actually really enjoyed this. And this kind of got me kicked off when I finally got around to watching a lot of the Cary Grant movies I avoided for a long time. I like this one a lot.
I like it quite a bit. I do think that this has a problem escaping the play aspects. I don't think it's where I just kind of like wish it expands itself past what it's able to do. So that's funny. I like the Frankenstein shit.
All right, you're number 26, Cody.
My number 26 is also Scorsese. It's from 1990. It's Goodfellas.
Yikes.
Oh, Goodfellas. There. All right. My 25 proves that I have a problem. I know that. I'm okay with it. Mine is 2007 Zodiac. I am a true crime. Do you have that? Okay. You're muted, so I don't hear a damn word you're saying anyway, so I'm going to talk. I'm a true crime nut. I love true crime. I find it very fascinating. I find it so interesting. Zodiac is this. I think this is Fincher's best film, and I honestly, I think there's a few that you can take that is his best, but this one, where what he's able to do with this film and to create this thing that still is unsolved to this day, of who the Zodiac Killer was, is just one of those fascinating stories, and how he's able to like not shy away from like how horrific some of the kills and everything else that he does, but like the notes and the obsession that comes over the groups that keeps getting these letters. I think Jake Gyllenhaal and Mark Ruffalo and Robert Downey Jr. just give outstanding performances throughout this entire movie. The ending will always get me. Like, it's just so freaky. The interviews where they're thinking they got the guy. Yeah, if you don't know much about the Zodiac Killer, it's just a very interesting story in San Francisco. But yeah, my 25 Zodiac.
All right, this for me is a tale of two movies. This is the first half, which is more like the character-driven stuff, and then the second half comes more of procedural. And you guys know me; I'm going to be much more into like the first half of character stuff, because there's so many great characters in this movie. And Robert Downey Jr.
the procedural stuff. That's fair.
Robert Downey Jr. kind of dominates the first half, and he kind of disappears in the second. And so I really like his first half stuff. I mean, the second half's not bad. And there's some really good great scenes. Like that scene in the basement's fantastic. A lot of tense moments there. I just like the first half better. But overall, it's a really solid movie. Really, like you said, really good true crime. Everybody else in Zodiac.
I like Zodiac quite a bit. I think this is another one on rewatch. I think is really rewarded because it is pretty dense, dense and patient at the same time, which is kind of a weird combination. But you really have to kind of find the vibe and the footing with this film, and you really get more into the head with the characters the more time you give it. But mainly the problem is it's no Benny Button. There's no back this time.
There are other Finchers I like more, but I actually really like this one. I didn't like it as much the first time I saw it. Part of that might have been, frustration with the ending, but again, that's what really happened. So, what are they going to do? But then, upon rewatch, I liked it more because, you really pick up that this movie isn't even so much about solving the crime. It is a movie about obsession and about these guys and all their different ways and how, that just takes over and kind of, in some cases ruins their lives because of their obsession over this case. But yeah, Fincher does atmosphere better than almost anybody. And the cast is great top to bottom.
Yeah, I agree. The cast is ridiculous. It's so good. And the direction is really great. I for some reason this movie didn't like completely connect with me the first time I saw it. I've only seen it once. I liked it. I didn't like love it as much as a lot of people do when they talk about it. So I think I have to rewatch it. I feel like I'll like it more. I do like the ending a lot though. I think Fincher does the best with what he can for the real life ending with this movie's ending.
All right, and so Cody, that takes us to your 24.
Okay, so this is 24 where I could lose Kirk altogether. My favorite sport of all time is baseball. It's not even close. I can't remember. I think I put this on my favorite films last time. I don't remember how bad he roasted me last time for it. But this is about a down-and-out team in Cleveland trying to be so bad and move this team to Miami. It's Major League.
Now you're going to fever pitch, and I'm so pissed.
Probably top 25 rom-com guaranteed in that movie. But this movie has got everything just that I love about baseball and like an underdog story and getting the worst players possible in there. And the manager of this team, I can't think of who plays that manager because I'm terrible at actor, but just where like Roger Dorn comes over to the third bases, like I'm not taking the grounder off the face. It's in my contract, and he just pulls out, throws it on the ground, and starts pissing on his contract. He's like, I don't give a damn what you're saying. You're doing it. Every time Willie Mays Hayes hits a fly ball, he has to do push-ups. Basically, just how this group that is just not supposed to win wins. You can see it from the beginning, but how they get there. Charlie Sheen is Wild Thing. I still hear that song and like it's so exciting. I can imagine being in a baseball stadium when that goes. But like the little things, like the announcer, who plays that?
Bob Uecker.
Yeah, Bob Uecker. It's like, well, shit. Like every time when they're leading, they're doing something. Well, then they can't throw this game away. Well, there it is. Like he starts drinking, and they have like his color commentator like doesn't say, fly ball. Left, like he can't really compete with him because he's drunk, passed out, and then the fans in the stand that play the drums and like scream at Wild Thing and tell him he sucks and he's terrible. Yeah, it's just it's got one of my favorite quotes ever, where it's like, you need to pray to Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ, I love him very much, but he can't help with a curveball. Are you telling me Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball? It's just so this movie's batshit crazy, but I love it. I will defend it to its end. I think this movie is great.
I hadn't seen this in a real long time, but over the past couple of years, like year and a half, I'd watch it multiple times for trivia, and I don't dislike it. It's all right. It's a good comedy. I love the characters. It's just such a great collection of characters. I love when a movie has like very well defined, like this is who they are, this is what they do, and there's like a lot of setups and payoffs through that. Like every character kind of has their own little arc through whatever their thing is. I really like that, and it's a great baseball movie. It really captures that feel. Knowing what all too well, the feeling of having a team that is always going to be bad, and it's always going to be bad, but trying to hope for the best. That scene. I just love like the scenes, like the different fans, like the groundskeepers and the people in the bar, how they keep going back to them throughout the season. Yes. It's so good. Yeah, and Euchre's great. I think Euchre's the best part of it. Just him completely giving up is so good. And like I said, I could totally relate to that. But yeah, I don't know why you thought I was going to roast you on this. I like this movie.
I just didn't remember if you hated it or not last time we talked.
I mean, 24 is high. I'm not going to lie to you. 24 is high.
Fair.
But I don't dislike it. Everybody else on Major League.
Major League is lots of fun. This is probably one of my favorite baseball comedies. This is back when Charlie Sheen was actually not insane and he was making funny movies. But it's great as a baseball movie. It's great as a comedy. It's so completely quotable. Jobu won me a trivia match, so I gotta like Jobu. Is it high? Yeah, but it's a personal favorite of his, and I can't complain because I got some weird personal picks of mine coming up. So.
I think growing up that the Major League 2 was the only one that they showed on TV because I feel like I saw it like 100 times when I was a kid.
I don't hate it.
to this day, I'm not sure if I've ever seen the first one. I might have, I don't know, but I do know I've seen the second one a lot because that was the only one that they used to play on TV. So I don't remember anything about the first one at all. If I have seen it, I might have.
Have you ever seen Major League with Wesley Snipes in it?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know. Maybe
because he was only in the first one.
I've also seen the third one, which is garbage.
He turns into Omar Epps, right? Like,
yeah.
There's a transformation scene too.
Yeah. He goes into the flying machine when he comes out. Omar. Anyway, I like have seen this in bits and pieces, but I moved to back to Cleveland, my hometown. In about 3.5 weeks, I decided right now this is the first movie I'm watching the day I move in. We're gonna go fully embrace it. I also want to go to an Indians game real bad pretty soon, and also embrace that. And also Burn On by Randy Newman plays in the opening credits. This is the one thing I remember about this movie. The song's a fucking banger. It's a classic, and Randy Newman's a great American hero. It's about the Cuyahoga River. Take it in, learn about your history.
It's a great opening.
Honestly, I also like this one was like full on R-rated. The second one they went all the way down to PG, if I recall correctly, and I was like they kind of neutered it.
That's weird. I've only seen the first one. I haven't seen any of the sequels. Okay, that's going to bounce us over to Ethan and your number 27.
All right, number 27 is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
2003.
No, 1974. The only one worth watching. Maybe the second one, but the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is terrifying. It is a movie that is so cheaply made, and Tobe Hooper shoots it in such a sloppy way, but like the sloppiness works like so perfectly for what the movie is. Like this like gross, uncomfortable, just like grisly experience that these people are going through. Like that's how you want the movie to be shot. You want it to be shot sloppily, and but it still looks great with like that old film grain. Like it feels really, really cool. All of the characters in that family are horrifying. They're Leatherface is the one that everyone knows and like loves. He's creepy. He's a psycho. He's swinging around that chainsaw is great. But also you just feel he's like a giant. He just grabs these people and just like brutally kills them. It's fucking awesome. That dinner scene with the family of cannibals and the girl getting stabbed, like it feels so real that like it's one of the few horror movies that still just gets me scared. Like it just makes me feel uncomfortable watching it. Like the furniture made of people and the ending of the movie where this woman is just getting chased down by this absolute lunatic. It's really scary, and it's just like very effective in its simplicity and its depiction of cannibalism. It's a really great bare bones horror movie.
I had not seen this. I watched it this week for the show. The one thing I like most about it is just it's a nice, like, quick 80-some minutes, and the movie just has like 4 or 5 beats at once a hit, gets in, gets out, and it's done. I feel like if they made this movie today, it would be like 2 hours and 15 minutes long, and they would just stretch everything out so long, and it would just be so much because it's hard to, because that's the thing, like it's almost everything you're seeing is so hard to watch that if you had to watch it longer, it keeps you there long enough to gross you out and make you feel sick, but it doesn't it doesn't torture you with it to make you watch it forever. And I think that adds to like the fact that like they're trying to say they're showing you something that really happened, and I think that adds to the realism, which is like it starts and then the things happen and it ends. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, it's scary. The girl plays Sally does a great job. Especially at the end, she's just her, and it almost gets ridiculous at a point, but it makes sense to get ridiculous because what she's witnessing and what she's going through, like there's really nowhere else for her to take that performance except go so completely over the top because that's based on what she's seen. Certain parts, like the one chase scene, like I could see why this movie is like the inspiration for so many horror movie parodies of like everybody making the worst possible decisions. Because like that scene where Leatherface comes out and kills her brother, and she runs full speed in the exact direction Leatherface came from. And I'm like, what are you doing? And then like when she runs to the house and goes upstairs, and like you just what's the end game here? And then so that chase scene where he's chasing, certain parts of that kind of started to feel like almost like when you go to a haunted house on Halloween, like somebody's chasing you, but they can't do anything to you because he gets so close to her, and like she just kind of stand there, and he's like holding the thing over her, and it's like, okay. But again, like you said, that that just plays into like the economy of what they had to work with and how they filmed it. But overall, like this is a movie I was nervous to watch because I thought it was just going to be so like really difficult to watch and really disturbing, and it was, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Everybody else on Texas Chainsaw. I know, Cody, you probably have a lot to say on it.
My challenge with this movie is the same with Halloween, which is, the story, the characters, they're so barren because it's kind of not the point. So I can appreciate like the technical premise of the movie, but it's hard for me to connect to a deeper purpose other than like be scary and impress people with scares, which I just need. More that I think there is a political, at least a political goal there as far as like as you read about things, but I don't think that really is easy to understand or easily stated when you're not in the 1970s. I don't think it's as relevant, today. So I do want to say that I think the scariest character, the scariest part of the film is actually the brother. I don't think Leatherface. I had to watch all these because Lucas is an asshole. So I watched all Texas Chainsaws in a week. And I think the scariest character is the brother when he's hitchhiking. Is the scariest moment in the franchise. When he cuts himself, and it's just that like sporadic. You don't know what to expect, rather than just a maniac with a chainsaw. You know what you're getting with that. I like the more chaotic energy you get with the brother.
I watched this movie for the first time like 5 years ago. I hadn't seen it before that. It's an okay horror flick. I mean, especially for its time. I mean, you can kind of tell it's kind of a low budget affair. It's kind of, gritty and all. But my problem is that the overacting in this movie is just by everybody is pretty horrible. And honestly, the direction and stuff and the editing, that's really kind of sloppy too. If I'm being honest, I prefer the 2003 and even its sequel at the beginning. I prefer those over this one because they are also, good horror flicks, but at least the acting is not nearly as horrible as it is in this one.
This motherfucker don't miss. Okay. So this goes back to me being 10 years old and begging to watch a horror movie for the first time, and my uncle showing me this movie. This has scarred me.
Great uncle.
This feels like a home movie. Like shot how it's shot, it feels so much like this is just like filmed on a handheld camera. So yeah, I think it's flipping terrifying. I've never went back to it, so yeah, no. But I mean, it fits for your top 100.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Like, it's just everything about it is so gross. Like all the characters, like her brother is such a hard character to watch. Like even like that kind of stuff. Like everything in this movie just is designed to make you feel uncomfortable. Moving on to your number 26.
All right, 26, 1982, The Thing. All right. The Thing is another sci-fi horror movie, similar to Alien, where you get, your cast of characters. You get a small group of guys in Antarctica. Some of them are scientists. They're in this facility, and the idea is so great and simple and terrifying that there is a creature that could be any of these people could be the creature, and you don't know, and you won't know until it's too late. So not only is the premise fantastic, but the tension that is built up throughout the movie is great because of the premise. So you're always just on edge. You don't know what's going to happen when, who's the monster. And the fact that the alien, I mean, the forms that it takes in this movie and the practical effects are spoken about as like some of the best of all time, because they are. Like, all of the creature stuff in this movie is just, I could watch it on loop for hours. You could just put the creature stuff in front of me and I would just sit there looking at it because it's so beautiful. And like the guys who designed all this stuff and made it happen, it's just hats off to them. It's like, I mean, Kurt Russell is fantastic as Mac. You get a little Wilford Brimley action in there. The whole cast is great. There's so many iconic scenes. The scene where they're doing the defibrillator and the stomach opens up and eats his hands. Like, one of the best moments in a horror movie ever. The score is fantastic. Ennio Morricone, so good. Usually, you get the John Carpenter stuff, but Ennio did a fantastic job. It's just it's so much fun to watch. The ending it's the most perfect ending for this specific type of movie and the story. Which I won't go into, but I could watch this movie 100 times. It's so good. Yeah,
this is definitely one of the greatest horror movies of all time. it starts out with a great setting, like a great horror setting, just like that barren Arctic wasteland is such a great place to set it. Just nowhere to go, and like the environment itself can kill you if you're not careful. And then they built all this on top of it. The practical effects are amazing, and I just love how they just completely go for it. How there's no like rules for what this thing can turn into. There's no limitations to it, and just how crazy it gets from the scene with the stomach opening, the scene with the dogs, just everything this thing becomes is so great looking, so well done, and I love that practical thing where all that's right there and it's happening. It's so good. Kurt Russell's great as Keith David. The whole cast is really good, and just the scene with the blood tests and the way that's shot. It's just such an amazing movie. Just one of the all-time great, just like tension builders. Did anybody else have the thing? Wow. Okay. Why not? And you're muted.
My turn. I watched this movie for the first time this year. And what I put in my review is, I'll stand by. It will never be one of my favorite movies. Like, I can already say it's just never one of my favorite movies. But what I can say, this is a master class on how to make sci-fi horror movies, and the effects in this movie look better than movies that were released in the last 5 years. Like, it still holds up. I will still laugh uncontrollably at the checkmate cheating bitch, and he throws the coffee. I think that's one of the best Kurt Russell lines ever in any movie. But yeah, I respect this movie more than I love this movie, because to say it's a bad movie, you can't utter those words. It just cannot be for you, and that's what it is for me. So, good choice though for you.
I haven't seen it. It did just get Criterion channeled, though, so I hope to see it, which is weird. But I hope to see it too. I also need to watch all of John Carpenter's movies so I can officially start my campaign for Starman being his best movie. It's my Benny Button for John Carpenter. Bring it on.
This is a movie. I like this movie. It's good. Like Cody said, it's never going to be a favorite of mine. The practical effects, I think there's some of them that look amazing. I think there are some of them that really looks pretty bad, honestly, in it. But I mean, a lot of it's very well done, and especially, I mean, what it does more better than anything else. People already talked about this, so I won't go into it. But the tension and the kind of suspicion of who might be infected, all that kind of thing is good. If you're expecting me to say I like the remake prequel more from 2011, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
Brian, you're gonna give me an aneurysm.
Are you being for real on that one?
I think I at least find them equal.
Oh God,
maybe even a little more.
Kirk, write that down, please.
I got it.
But I mean, if you know me at all, John Carpenter movies are not usually. I don't like a lot of John Carpenter movies, so this is one of his better ones.
All right, Ethan, you're number 25.
I've secured last place. Okay,
one of his better ones.
I just need
That's hilarious.
I mean, the new one being even equal. Oh. Anyway, all right, we're moving past it. Number 25 is a movie that was referenced very recently on the show, The Fly, 1986. This is a movie in which Wesley Snipes enters a teleportation pod and becomes Omar Epps. No, I'm kidding. This movie is it's my favorite David Cronenberg movie. It does every kind of Cronenberg thing that he always does perfectly. It is so gross, but like in the best possible way. I mean, Jeff Goldblum, first of all, it's the perfect role for him because he is such a charismatic guy, but he's also so like nerdy if you don't really like see the charisma. And having an actor who can do both of those works so well for this because you have him in the beginning as that nerdy, uncharismatic guy, and then he enters the pod, and when he gets that fly DNA mixed with him, he becomes this like confident, powerful, strong guy, and Jeff Goldblum embodies that, and his chemistry with Gina Davis is so fantastic, and she's like one of my favorite actresses of all time, and this is one of her best movies, and just watching them interact is great, and seeing that slow transformation of Jeff Goldblum into Brundlefly is one of the best things you could ever experience in a horror movie, and similar to what we were just talking about, The Thing, the practical effects in this movie are top notch. Everything towards the end of the movie, which I won't specifically say what, but like if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Like the stuff at the end is insane. It's so fun to watch. What happens with his character at the end is so great. And I just love the premise. It's like it's a sci-fi movie about a guy developing a teleportation device, but a fucking fly enters it with him, and then he becomes a fly. Like it's such a great. It's I don't know. It's just so fun. And I like the original for what it is as a corny 50s horror movie. But this is one of those rare remakes where the remake just like blows the original out of the water.
I hadn't seen this since I was a kid, so I rewatched it this week. Yeah, I love Goldblum, and this is a great Goldblum role. Just see him going from that, like you said, the transformation. So I watched this movie, and like this is a movie about a guy going through the stages, a person like going through the stages of grief, like starting with down, and then at the end with the acceptance. And again, this is another movie where it's the runtime is perfect. It's a nice trim 90 minutes. The movie starts with him and Ginny Davis in the middle of their first conversation. There's no meet cute or anything like that. They just get the ball rolling on that, and then it's you don't get real deep into the science of it. It is what it is. He made it, and this is what it does, and that goes quick. And then when when the movie ends, it ends. It ends very abruptly. But the story's done. So the pace of this movie is great. The effects are hit and miss for me. I think the makeup's really good. Towards the end, it's really obvious that he's just wearing a rubber suit. Like you see him like crawling around, and like you see like the seam in the pants. So like it's some of that's not great, but I mean like him crawling, like the wall crawling was done really cool. I guess they said they had the whole room on a Ferris wheel, and like they were just moving it, and so just really cool tricks like that. But yeah, I think it's a fun sci-fi movie. It's like kind of just like a tragic story of just like that hubris of what we could do. It's funny that like Ian Malcolm is the guy that took the science too far. But I liked it. I think 25 is high for The Fly. I'm not gonna lie to you, but it's a fun sci-fi movie. Everybody else on The Fly.
I've seen images
that Ethan has it this high because he's all about body horror. So Cronenberg, and especially in The Fly, I can totally see that. I did think it was kind of fun. They took like this old cheesy 50s movie and they're going to do a remake of it, and to kind of go this direction with it is kind of like, that's why I like when they do remakes that are very different than the originals, because otherwise why bother doing it really? Again, like you, Kirk, I haven't seen this in quite a while, so I don't remember all that about it. But it's got Goldblum, so it's good.
I've seen the images of this shit. Hell no. Not a chance in hell I will ever watch this. This is no. If he turns into a fly, okay, great. I know the story. I'm good with it. Let's just move on.
I like Fly quite a bit. I think the makeup is as good as like any of the Rick Baker stuff. It's really amazing, and for that being like the selling point of a movie, it seems weird, but like it does like make the movie work. It doesn't work if it's not as realistic and as interesting to look at. Also, Jeff Goldblum minimized horror career for what it could have been. He's like perfect for horror movies. Playing a scientist that has gone wrong, and he should have had a lot more opportunities within there. It's always great to see him be doing this shit.
All right, Ethan, you're number 24.
All right, I think this is maybe going to surprise some people, but my number 24 is Point Break.
That's not a surprise. I thought it was going to be like Babe. That would have been a surprise for you.
Wait till the top 10. Point Break is, listen, this movie is really stupid. Like, it's so dumb. It's like a cheese pizza with extra cheese, and then you added some more cheese on top. Like, it's crazy how cheesy it is, but it is so fun. And Keanu Reeves and Gary Busey, just like, I love watching them interact, and Patrick Swayze and Keanu also, like, both of those relationships are incredible. This movie is endlessly quotable. I mean, the premise is so ridiculous. Like, there's a gang of bank robbers dressing up as dead presidents, and they're surfers, and like, so this FBI agent has to become a surfer to get in with them. Like, it's so silly and stupid, but I love it. It's endlessly quotable. Back off, War Child. Seriously, this movie it's like such a blast to watch. Like, I think I might have even put it a little too high, to be honest. I'll show my cards here. But there was a period of time when I loved this movie so much that I had like a T-shirt. I saw Point Break live, which was a really fun show. And there was a point in time when I could probably like do all the dialogue to this movie while watching it, but that time has passed. But the action's really good. Catherine Bigelow does a great job with the action. The chase scene on the foot chase is one of the best foot chase scenes in any crime movie or action movie. Patrick Swayze throws a dog as a weapon. Like he picks up a large dog and throws it at someone. It's fantastic. The moment where Keanu has to turn to the sky and fire his pistol because he doesn't want to shoot Bodhi. Like it's full of great moments like that. Lori Petty is fun to watch. Feel bad her career went nowhere, but she's good in it. That skydiving scene, which I won't spoil when or where it is in the movie, but there's a skydiving scene where people are not wearing parachutes, and it looks so good. It feels like it was shot how it looks, and it might have been, I don't know, but it's awesome. It's really fun to watch. This movie's a blast.
I don't think I'd ever seen this movie in its entirety. It's one of those ones that was like on cable constantly in the early to mid 90s. So I'd always seen bits and pieces. I watched it this week. And knowing, first of all, what high regard this movie's held in, and how much some people love it, and just the fact that this movie is just so objectively terrible, and there's nothing you could possibly say good about this movie. Honestly, it felt. Well, I'll say this: some of the surfing scenes look good; they're shot well. Everything else is god awful. It's a terrible. If I honestly watch this movie because of how much people like it, I felt like I was watching someone get away with a crime. I felt like I was out in a public place and somebody just pulled out a gun and murdered somebody. And I was like, let's call the police. Like, oh, no, it's all right. He's cool. And not only are we going to let him go, but we're going to throw a parade in his honor and have a party for him because he's such a great guy. I'm like, but murder. And they're like, nah, don't worry about it. This movie sucks. It is just a really bad extra. It is shot, and that chase scene is terrible. It is edited so bad. The editing in this movie is awful. The action scenes are edited terrible. You can never tell what's happening or what's where. There's no sense of time or space or anything. The acting is god awful. This might be Keanu's worst performance up there with Bram Stoker's Dracula. So bad, and it's just awful. It does that action movie thing where everybody has to be assholes and yell for no reason, just constantly yelling and being mean to it for no reason. I know the reason is because it's a very poorly made film. It's a very bad script, and they think people yelling and being mean to each other is a substitute for tension and drama, but it's not. Liking this movie, ironically, is not even okay. There's nothing. I hated every minute of this. It's bad. Busey's terrible, Swayze's terrible. Nobody's good in this. There's no bright spots in the cast. It is god awful. Everybody else on Point Break.
Having Major League at 24 doesn't look so bad anymore. I watched this movie, and I think my score, I gave it 3.5, and I thought that might have been too high at the time. Because I didn't understand the overall love for this movie either. I understand how ridiculous the movie is, but I didn't realize how ridiculous the movie is. And I always know the FBI agent line, and it just proves this concept.
FBI agent.
This movie shouldn't work. There's parts that I like. I like it a little bit more than Kirk, but I think on rewatch it could honestly hurt it. To be honest with you, so I can't defend you on this one too much. Good luck. Did Brian give you his list? Because this seems like a Brian pick.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's not on Brian's list.
Yeah.
I like this movie fair amount, but movies like this, the dumb 90s action movies, will always have a peak of how much I can like them. Which is like Air Force One and this shit, which is or just enjoyably silly, and that it doesn't need to be more than that, but it's not going to ever be one of my favorite movies because there's just not anything deeper for me to connect to. But.
This is not on my list, but it could have been. It wouldn't make my top 100, but I really like this movie. I don't care what anybody says. It's fun. It was so good they remade it and called it The Fast and the Furious. But
that's a great legacy.
I was about to say, I was like, that's not helping it.
Come on. Keanu Reeves got to be an action star. Gary Busey gets to be batshit crazy. Gary Busey, as usual. It's fun. I mean, this is not a movie I'm going to go on and say it should be winning any awards. It shouldn't be on a top 100 greatest movies of all time list. But on somebody's top 100 list of their favorite movies, I have no problem with being on there. That being said, let's move on to my number 27. That's Speed. So thanks for that segue there.
Did Zach talk?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just making sure. Oh, okay.
So yeah. So I purposely went last because this is the perfect segue into mine. Speed. Yeah. What? No, yikes. What? This kind of like why I wasn't going to bash Cody's 24 and apparently not Ethan's 24 either, because this is obviously just a personal pick, a personal favorite of mine. I can't even explain why. Of the many Die Hard ripoffs that came out in the years following that, this one, was Die Hard on a bus, and this was the best of the bunch by far. Reeves had already done Point Break, but this is kind of where he really cements himself as that he could really be an action star, which eventually led to The Matrix and John Wick, and so we've gotten a lot more action from Keanu Reeves, which is good to keep him away from trying to do dramas like Bram Stoker's Dracula. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Sandra Bullock kind of became a star because of this movie. She had done Demolition Man the year before, in a much smaller part, but here she kind of appeared on the big stage and got to kind of make her mark in this movie. Jeff Daniels had a great year being in this and Dumb and Dumber in the same year. His partnership with Keanu Reeves was really cool. But really, this movie is all about the tension. I mean, you talked about the thing. I mean, it's a different kind of tension, but this one is the whole movie. It's a ridiculous premise. This bus can't go below a certain speed, but still, when I saw this in the theater, people were holding their breath and stuff because it was, the tension of what could or might happen was great from beginning to end. And I think a big part of that was also the score by Mark Mancina. It's a great score that just meshes really well with the movie. It kind of drives the whole thing.
I also had it at 54. I think this movie, it's my favorite 90s action movie of the 90s by far. Not even close. I have so much fun with this movie. You get badass Dennis Hopper as the bad guy. Count me in with all the phone calls. And is the concept stupid? 1,000%. But I was on from Jump Street, and I'm still on to this day, that this bus can't go below 50 miles an hour, and it doesn't. It jumps shit, it breaks through stuff, it does over the top thing, and Keanu is a million times better in this than he is in Point Break. So, Speed, I just have so much fun with. The concept, it's stupid, but it's the perfect amount of stupid for me. I could watch this today and not get bored at all.
Yeah, the timing couldn't have worked out better for you here, Brian, because I don't love this pick, but coming off a Point Break, it looks so much better. So much better. I remember this movie came out, and it was a lot of fun. I think I saw this in the theater 3 times. It's just that high concept of, it's on like you said, Die Hard on a bus, and you got to keep going, and just the way they're able to pace it. I mean, that's hard to pull off. So it's a fun movie. Yeah, I think this is where Keanu kind of starts to come into his own. I think this is where you kind of get that, the Keanu will get in the Matrix and stuff like that. This is where his acting chops. I mean, he's not great by stretch, but between that, you go from Point Break to this, and you see a big difference. Dennis Hopper's great as the villain. He's really good as just real over the top Dennis Hopper. I don't love Sandra Bullock. I'm not a big fan of hers, but she's okay in this. She's just kind of there. I think it's high. I think 27s are high for this, but I don't hate the movie. I don't hate the pick.
Just so you know, Bar's coming for your head in the chat. I hope
he needs to calm down. I mean, he's going to die on the Point Break kill. That is crazy. He really needs to calm down.
He is losing his shit. I don't know. Can we get a safety check on Major Bar somewhere, please?
Everybody else on Speed, or Ethan and Zach at least.
First of all, I love Speed. Second of all, I don't understand how you could hate Point Break as much as you do and like Speed. I'm not saying they're the same movie, but I feel like they go hand in hand, whether you're gonna like him or not like him. But whatever. I like Speed a lot. Jeff Daniels is great in this. Keanu he's. I listen. Everyone that knows me knows I love Keanu. So I have a blast watching Keanu just on the phone with Dennis Hopper yelling at each other. It's great. I think the action's really fun. I'm also not a huge fan of Sandra Bullock. Alan Ruck is really fun in this movie as like this disgruntled passenger.
I heard a scene in the airport.
Yeah, the scene in the air and speaking of airport, the airport scene is great. There's the opening scene is also fantastic. It's like it's very tension filled. It's good action. It builds a good rapport between Keanu and Jeff Daniels. It's a really good movie. I feel like if you like this, you should like Point Break. I don't see how you couldn't like one without the other, but whatever.
I haven't seen this since I was a little kid, but I don't support movies that encourage reckless driving. They should just crash into a water, take one for the team, and not harm hundreds of other people on the road.
You solved it, Zach. And I just real quick, I want to address Andrew's comment. I didn't say the concept was stupid. I said I liked the concept. I thought it was a good concept. So I don't know what he's talking about. You really got to get yourself together here, Andrew, because you just.
We know he doesn't listen. He doesn't listen to arguments. We know this for a fact. So
I'm not going to say anything about that. Okay, we're going to move on to your number 26, Brian.
Let's keep the vehicle violence going. It's Mad Max Fury Road.
So
next. Okay,
God.
cool.
Well, you're gonna have to hear about it at some point, Cody.
I know, but another week or later, I can. It helps me prepare.
The higher it is, the more he can go off on it.
Yeah.
All right. 25. Cody can also complain about. That's Shakespeare in Love. Now, this comes with an asterisk because this is too high. It would absolutely be on my top 50. I'm not sure what I overlooked to leave it up quite this high, but I really do like this movie. So I mean, it's still in my top 50. But just so you know, even I know this is high. This is a movie that gets a lot of shit. I think a lot of people really jump on it just because it beat Saving Private Ryan for Best Picture Oscar. I honestly think both were very deserving of that award if they come out different years. It's just a matter of they're both two very different movies. So, I mean, I could have seen either one getting it. But it got nominated for 13 Oscars and won 7 of them, I think. But this is a movie that I understand is not the taste of a lot of people, especially in this community. But it's a romance, but it's also a comedy. One of my favorite things about it is the script by Tom Stoppard, who he's known for things like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead. If you've never seen that, Gary Oldman, Tim Roth, see that. It was basically a play first. It's hilarious. He does a lot with wordplay. You see a lot of that in this movie. We kind of do a lot of wordplay with the stuff with Shakespeare. There's a lot of kind of hints and almost Easter eggs and winks at kind of things from the Shakespearean times and his other plays. It kind of tells the story of how the creation of Romeo and Juliet kind of paralleled the actual story itself. So I mean, it's not meant to be anything deep. It's meant to be fun. I mean, there's a lot of story to it as well, but it's really this movie is kind of instead of just doing another version of Romeo and Juliet, it kind of had a fun new take on it. I thought the score in this one was great. It's obviously very different than the other scores I've talked about, but I thought it was a beautiful score. I listen to the soundtrack all the time. The cast from top to bottom was really good. Ben Affleck is the weakest link in the bunch, as he usually is, but even he was tolerable in this movie. Yeah, I mean, this is a lot of fun. I would also recommend the one this inspired is a short film called George Lucas in Love, which kind of takes how he made Star Wars. It's kind of spoof on this, but check that out if you can find it.
It's fine. I'm just completely sick of the Shakespeare in Love, Saving Private Ryan, Best Picture debate. I don't even care anymore. I mean, either way, whether it deserved the Oscar or not, you're right. This is way too high for this movie. I haven't seen it in a long time, but I mean, from what I remember, it's not. Like I said, I'm not gonna say anything bad about it. It was a good movie. It was a solid movie. I mean, it's one of those Miramax campaigns I think that got the Best Picture Oscar, but it's passable.
Harvey Weinstein for the win. Oh wait,
yeah. 25. 25 is really high. So everybody else on Shakespeare in Love.
Things I never wanted said on my show. That yeah, I watched an entire YouTube thing about the Best Pictures at race and how Weinstein basically worked the Oscars to get things, like how he was able to get screeners to certain people and how to promote it, and that's basically how this movie won over Saving Private Ryan that year, because it was the front runner and then Weinstein showed up and it wasn't anymore. But between them, I'll take Saving Private Ryan probably every time over anything Shakespeare, to be honest with you. But yeah.
I haven't seen it. I only know it as the movie that everyone says stole the Best Picture from Saving Private Ryan. So I do want to see it at some point because I feel like I have to. But yeah, I haven't seen it. I don't even know much about it, to be honest.
Shakespeare in Love.
Oh, okay, cool. I've seen it now.
I was trying to look up the nominees that year, so I could have a hot take about who really should have won. Not either, but I can't figure it out. I don't know how to Google. I haven't seen this, but I was like caught so off guard by Brian having this on his list. I'm like very pleasantly surprised with knowing very little about this movie.
All right, Brian, that takes us to your 24.
Maybe get you off guard again if you thought I like that romance movie. How about this one, Titanic?
Yikes! I couldn't get to it.
Ooh, okay then.
Yikes!
Oh no!
Hey, I'm not gonna be pleasantly surprised. It's literally behind you, dumbass.
All right.
That's kind of the joke.
By the way,
no surprise.
Zach, if you don't bring this up when you finally bring it up and start with the song, don't come back to the show. Okay?
When I started the song, I'm actually just gonna do like the clarinet part of the
please.
score.
It's a penny whistle,
I
damn it.
just can't wait to hear how sexy these people are. So that's great. Okay.
All right, that takes us to that takes us to the bottom of Brian, and then we're back to Zach with Zach's number 27.
I don't know my list. My 27 is Noah Baumbach's Kicking and Screaming, specifically the 1995 one, not the Will Ferrell one. Although
I have the Will Ferrell one.
I kind of like the Will Ferrell one.
You know, Brian's about to say he likes that one better.
There's a little kid getting stuck in the soccer bag and rolling in circles, and super funny. That movie's better than people give it credit for. Anyways, Noah Baumbach's first movie, Kicking and Screaming, is one of those movies that I think just even though it was 15 years before I graduated college, just hit me on such a real level in a way. In a lot of ways, it's just a fun hangout movie of these post-college people being, really funny in a purposeful way, but also an oblivious, pretentious manner in a way that I know I have acted and it came off, many of times, but also just the deep feels of how hard it is to get over college. It's taken me a long time to because it's the best years of your life in a way that's a cliche, but also was really real to me, to where I discovered at least a version of myself. And I think this movie understands how you feel that you have evolved into your real self in college, even though that's kind of a false idea, and you don't know what to do, outside of there, or how otherwise you're just gonna keep spinning your wheels after that. It's never gonna be the same. Which is I think just a universal feeling of anyone who's has really felt that growth in college. So that's the my main attachment to this movie, but also just is, I said, super funny. It's I think maybe Noah Baumbach's funniest non-Greta Gerwig movie. In a way, the lines are really sharp, really witty, have a great capture of tone. I think you have actors that never got a time. They were so perfect to the 90s. I don't think they really had much of a chance outside of that, but they are just so perfect for Noah Baumbach's writing, but also Chris Eigerman, who's in this, is just hilarious, and I think he's one of the unsung actors of the 90s because he never really got a chance outside of this movie or with Stillman movies, but just so perfect in that kind of pretentious, yuppie, fake philosophical grad student kind of way that I just always could be amused by. I could watch this movie every day. It's a delight, but also makes me real nostalgic and also sad about how I reached my prime when I was 22.
I don't try to judge movies based on the socioeconomic status of the characters, because everybody has problems, everything as they go through. But I watch this movie and I'm like, it's a bunch of, wealthy college graduates. I think you guys are going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think, things are going to turn out too terrible for you. I think what saved this movie for me is the fact that it does have a level of self-awareness where a lot of movies like this, necessarily don't like everything, they take that seriously, like that college is great. This is great. This is the best part of our lives. Like it totally buys into that. And this one kind of like looks at it through like a different lens of like, I don't want to say judging the characters, but like the movie knows that like the movie's smarter than the characters, basically. And I like that about it. Definitely. I mean, for me, it's lower level Bombeck. I mean, give me Bombeck, movies that are him working out his parents' divorce. I think that's where he's at his best. But as far as like this kind of like college movie, I don't think it was too bad. I think 27's high for it. I don't know. Did you have any other Bombeck movies on your list? I think you did.
I have a number of Bombeck movies on my list. Yes.
Oh, you had Francis Ha,
and there may be more to come.
But you had that so much lower than this. That's crazy. Okay, Zach, you're dead to me. Everybody else on Kicking and Screaming.
I haven't seen this one. Baumbach is like a blind spot for me. I've seen a couple of his movies and I like them, so I want to watch more of them. But I just haven't gotten to this one yet.
I haven't seen either version of Kicking and Screaming, so I can't say I like the Will Ferrell one better. Looking at the listing, though, this is a very 90s cast. I kind of want to check it out just because Olivia D'Abo I had a crush on since Michael J. Fox movie called Greed. So, but
yeah, I feel like Brian would love this movie.
Is Mike Ditka in this one? I like the one with Mike Ditka. He's a juice box guy. So no.
Okay, you're number 26. Zach. Don't be muted.
I forgot it was still my turn. Okay. I was looking at chat. My number 26 is similar in a lot of ways. Say Anything. Say Anything, it's a teen movie, still has...
Wait, what?
Is it not Say Anything?
Is this some kind of a weird joke that I'm not aware of?
It is Say Anything, but My Everything? 2019. No, that's
Jesus Christ, Cody.
I just clicked the button. I don't know the shit. So he had to work today, so he retired for the first time ever. So.
I'm gonna act like my 26 is My Everything. My Everything. This is a lovely movie about hoarding. Say Anything. John Cusack, I have already previously discussed, is like for some reason, it is like my avatar in a way. I see myself through his eyes in a lot of way on screen because I'm a kickboxer that just wants to, have my true calling, kickboxing. But this movie is just delightful. I think, Cameron Crowe really had a touch with the pen. He just kind of like lost his way in his earnestness. No one does earnest better than he did in his prime, though. It sells the corny moments like, I gave her a pen and, the airplane scene better than I feel like anybody has ever been able to do. A lot better than John Hughes was able to do. I feel like this is a John Hughes movie that actually is what he was always aiming to go for because I think he's just a lot smarter in his use of dialogue. And it's an exploration of characters. And this movie is like fairly dense for being romantic comedy. There's a lot of subplots that all matter and have importance and are engaging. There's a real father-daughter dynamic that is real and striking, and that doesn't have to be in this movie. It wouldn't be in other movies, or it would be less, impactful than this able to do it. I think a lot of that's based on the performance, but also the writing. And Iona Sky, an actress we'd lost to time. I think she should have had a bigger career. I think she's full of charm. She plays that smart, kind of socially unaware girl so perfectly throughout this. But the main thing is John Cusack knew the charmer of the 80s and the 90s. He's just a perfect teen actor in a lot of ways, and very engaged by it. So I love Say Anything.
In real life, when a person makes their relationship their primary personality trait, it makes for a very dull person. And I don't think that's any different in movies. I I hate the character of Lloyd in this movie. He's just really kind of pathetic and not somebody I want to root for. I don't like this movie at all. Usually I love Cusack, John Cusack. In this though, I just think everything her dad says to him in the prison scene, absolutely true. Absolutely true. Like, he has no business like trying to he's an anchor around this girl's leg. Like, this girl's going places and he is just going to suck her down. Like, the end of the movie, I'm like, I hope they get to England and she drops him quick, because otherwise she is screwed. He is not good for her. But yeah, John Mahoney is the best part of this movie, and that relationship between them is really good. Just that subplot, but everything, and it's just another one of those characters like who just says a lot, but at the same time says nothing. Like, tries so hard to like sound intelligent and deep, and is not. This is a weak movie. Everybody else on say everything, say anything, or my everything, say everything, say my everything.
I really like it. It seems like the first divide in your household. Kathy's turning on you for the first time in the chat.
I had heard about this movie for a long time, and like, I love John Cusack, and I'd seen that scene parodied a million times, the boombox, and I was really excited about this movie, and I got it for like $2 on Blu-ray or something somewhere, and I was like, I don't know, I don't remember why. It was a few years ago, so I don't remember specifics, but I just remember being really disappointed with it, and just not liking it much, and not understanding why it's like such a, like an 80s classic. Yeah, like, there's a couple of good scenes, but I think that overall it's just, I don't know, it didn't work for me.
I think this movie came out as kind of a transition. It kind of was, John Cusack moving out of kind of high school roles into more serious acting. So it wasn't kind of the usual goofy, John Cusack we were used to kind of in the 80s. But I thought it was a pretty good, touching story, and it still had a lot of humor to it. It was very Cameron Crowe. I mean, I remember this was this his first movie or one of his first directed movies, I think. But yeah, but I mean, I thought it was good. It kind of introduced us to him and his style, and I think that's one thing that threw a lot of people, at least at the time when it came out, because they were used to a different kind of John Cusack. I can see how watching it now, I mean, things have been parodied and so much that it comes off a little silly now if you watch it. But at the time, the boombox thing, it was a romantic gesture. I liked it, but I was the right age at the time, so.
I saw this in high school. I haven't seen it since. I didn't really like it then, but it probably was time for a rewatch of it. So, but I'm gonna check out my everything first.
Strangely enough, they played a Simpsons short for the first time in front of this movie in theaters. It was weird. It's before the TV show started.
For the review episode, can we just instead do a live watch along to my everything, the 1 minute short?
Yeah.
I will say maybe the biggest surprise of the entire top 100 so far is this not being on Brian's list. I thought for sure until he didn't yikes, and I was like, I thought it was there. Okay, Zach, your number 25.
Yeah, my 25 is Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. People on here trying to say there's a better Spike Lee movie in the past. It's no such thing. This movie's a fucking masterpiece in all the right ways. I think Spike Lee has such a specific tone that, I've been watching John Singleton movies recently, and I feel like he was trying to do a very similar thing of doing these like real life interactions and this like humor and this like streetwiseness, but then like straight tragedy, and he just like can't like balance it near as well as Spike Lee is able to do the right thing, which is just really amazing what he's able to accomplish. Because in a lot of ways, I keep talking about hangout movies, but you're just hanging out in this community, getting to know all the people around there. They give just amount of time to, different individuals to really get a full picture of what it's like to live in this neighborhood, with just the right enough time to, the characters who are going to matter in the end, where then as it, riles up the plot, everything kind of connects together. The characters come together to kind of put a pin on what the point of the movie, kind of wrapping everything together, because you can see it kind of being aimless. Like, what is he trying to say, when it all makes sense by the tragedy that's able to occur to. And it's really remarkable how he's able to do that feat. Coming right out, I guess this isn't his first movie, his second movie, I believe, right? I also love She's Gonna Have It, but with such like unique style and vision, that kind of like in a way shows, with the lack of options to directors of color, directors of female in the past, but we might have been missing out on because there's just a unique vision that he was able to bring in the 80s that, Black directors didn't have the options before that to really, put that into New Hollywood before. It's just really remarkable. He does, the fisheye lens and the close-ups, almost better than anybody. He uses music, diegetic music, not just entertainingly, but also thematically purposeful. And I actually find Spike Lee a very engaging actor. I love him in this. I find him really funny. He has that kind of weird, quirky persona that I tend to fall for in a main character. Do the Right Thing. It's as relevant today as it ever was, and I think if you've heard how great it was, give it a chance because I think it is great for a reason.
Yeah, I hadn't seen this in a while. When I first watched it, it was rough because it just all the hype surrounding it. I only watched it for the first time like maybe 10 years ago, and just all the hype kind of hurt it for me. Rewatched it, I liked it better, but I do still think. I mean, obviously, it's thematically it's a very important movie, but just from like a filmmaking standpoint, it's a movie from a young, inexperienced director who has a lot to say, and it feels like a movie from a young, inexperienced director who has a lot to say. I think I'm not a big fan of a lot of his camera work in this. I think a lot of it's kind of amateurish, and I think that all the hype that this movie got and all the accolades really hurt Spike Lee in the long run because no one will tell you how great this movie is more than Spike Lee will. And I think there is a lot of, like I said, I think there's like stuff he could improve. And I think there's still stuff. Even with The Five Bloods, I see stuff in that movie that I saw in this movie in 1989 that was still like, I'm just like, you're still doing that, man? Like you haven't moved past that. I just feel like Spike is kind of I think that stunted him as a filmmaker. There are a lot of great aspects to this. I mean, Ossie Davis is the greatest thing in every movie he's in, and him and his relationship with mother sister, I think, is my favorite part of the movie. Dan Aiello is really great, and just his interactions with the people in the neighborhood. So yeah, I mean, it's good. I just don't think it's as great as everybody else makes it out to be. Everybody else on Do the Right Thing.
It should be on my list. It should. Looking back on it, it should. It was on mine for a little bit when it moved around. I just haven't seen it in a little bit, and I need to rewatch it. But I really enjoyed the movie. I think it's Spike Lee's second best movie he's ever made. Sorry, Zach. I think Malcolm X is still better. But if he would have cast Denzel and Do the Right Thing, we would have had a different conversation. But he didn't. So yeah, great movie though.
I'm kind of right there with Kirk in that I think it's a good movie. I don't think it's a great movie. I don't get all the acclaim it gets. It does feel a little amateurish at times. I think it tries a little too hard to hit you over the head with kind of the messages they're trying to push down your throat. It just as a day in the life movie though, and kind of what happens to these characters along the way, I thought it was very well done. But then I think Spike Lee kind of gets in his own way, and I don't know. It's okay. Spike Lee does have that problem where he just
yeah, I agree with that, and that's kind of how I feel about it too. I saw it like 4 or 5 years ago, so I don't remember specifics too well about it, but I remember just like hating almost every character in the movie. Like everyone is like awful almost, if I remember correctly. But it's been a long time, so there might be a couple of good characters in there I don't remember. A lot of the performances are great. Zach, I think you're insane. Spike Lee is a bad actor. I do not think he is like the worst part of this movie. Like I don't buy. He just sounds like he's like reading a script. It's like it's not good. I do think it's shot really well. I like how it's shot. It is a bit amateurish, but I kind of like the fresh out of film school like style he puts in it. The colors are really great. I think the music's great. The ending is like, that scene with what happens. I won't spoil it, but like it is insanely relevant today, and like, seeing that for the first time like in recent years, like definitely had a profound effect on me. But I think overall, there's something about the movie that doesn't really connect with me, and I think it's just Spike Lee's overall style, and I can the fact that you said he's like one of the best performances in this movie blows my mind. He's so bad.
So funny. He's so good. I'm gonna go really quickly to Spike the spiel as an actor because he's also I think he's so funny and She's Gotta Have It. He's just so engaging and oddball and hilarious. And you know his most famous line She's Gotta Have It is please baby, please. Turns out he wrote a picture book for babies with his wife called Please Baby, Please. So it's basically She's Gotta Have It baby fan fiction based off this line, and everyone needs to check it out. It's a very important piece of art.
In other words, you took a paycheck.
The other thing I will say about this movie is that aspects of it are really dated. Like when your opening credit scene is Rosie Perez doing
the horrible dancing.
Doing the Running Man in the spandex bodysuit. Really undercuts like any thing you want me to take serious later on when you open your movie with that.
I'm just letting you know, Zach, Paul and Lucas really let you down on these episodes because they're not here to defend you.
Yeah. All right.
So I wanted to be on the top 100 with them so I could be in a team.
Hell no. Hell no. Never.
What's your 24, Zach?
Who in the hell knows? My 24. This is when I made an awkward moment because I forget the rules of the show. Because it was almost the same round. It's Goodfellas. So Goodfellas. I mentioned I think last episode how my dad never showed me Godfather, but I watched Goodfellas. I'm pretty sure by like age 6, and then like maybe like 30 times, as a youth. So this was to me what mobster movies, are. And in a way, I understand the importance of Godfather, but Goodfellas is just like remarkably like fun. In a way that's almost dangerous. This is, Ethan made a joke earlier, or maybe someone did, about how frat boys misinterpret Wolf of Wall Street. It's the same way. He makes these movies just so engaging, so fun that you like can somehow miss out on, the deeper context on this. Is like, man, the mob life like can fuck you up, and it makes you a paranoid psychopath. As what happens to Ray Liotta. He definitely has. A take with it, a comeuppance in a way of this kind of life, but also still like a kind of nostalgia that rings out. And, he understands why these people fall for this life and the companionship you can find, within that community, but also the just danger and chaos that can go every which way, and just remarkable filmmaking. He right out of the gates showed that Scorsese is perfect in using music. But like 30 years later, he's still able to like surprise you in his use of songs that he's already like pretty much used before. And then use Layla in the montage, and somehow, especially just like the weird like instrumental part of Layla, where it's kind of like calm and chill, just is like really works magic in that kind of like tragic scene. Devastating scene. And it changes tones when it needs to change tone. It really becomes that like cocaine fueled chaos in the last half hour that keeps propelling you into new territories. Goodfellas, highly rewatchable. I think very important, film of the 90s that almost like no one was able to make a gangster movie afterwards. I can even compare to that until he completely upends it with Irishman in a perfect way, but messing with his own mythos in a way.
Yes. So I just watched Goodfellas today. If lucky, I can't change my shit anymore because it go up a little higher. It's just, you're right. It has this appeal to it that no likable characters whatsoever really in this movie, but they're so likable in the same regards. I'm still, I put in my review, I'm still waiting for the Goodfellas cooking show. The shame that this never came about. I would watch Paulie and them cut garlic with a razor blade any day. Just how it really starts, like where it's that, I forget how iconic that scene really is, where they're driving down and what's that? And they open it up and just Ray Liotta sees how far of a dive that his life has taken since he wanted to be a gangster, and now the ultimate cost of what a gangster like really is. I love the little stuff like Paul. I love how Joe Pesci is like, basically, it just proves like where the mob mentality is, that he not intimidating, not terrifying, does not have anything in any like stature that could stop him, but his name alone and the people he's got connected to him give him the most strength in the world to do whatever he wanted. Like the guy that comes over and goes, "That's 7 Gs, man. I need to pay." He's like, "Get the hell out of here!" Smashes a bottle over his head. Like he's like, "I don't give a shit what you're saying to me." And then that's basically his comeuppance in the end. And then Henry Hill so far into this and finally gets presented a way out and takes the way out. And last night I said third act weighed on me a little bit. Last time I watched it, third act's perfect. I must have been in a bad mood or something. I've seen this movie so many times. I just think this is one of Scorsese's best movies. It's up there. It's probably the second one for me. Third one for me. We'll talk some other time. But fantastic movie. Yeah, go ahead. Wonder what Kirk's going to say. I'm curious.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about this movie a lot. I think it was my number 3 or number 2 or number 3 last year. I mean, this was the movie that Scorsese, like, his whole career was building up to. I think like it just peaked there, and like, I mean, he still makes good movies, but I mean, this is the absolute height of everything he had done, everything he did since. The whole, just that world that they create, and like you said, like the cooking stuff, like the scene in the jail where like they're in jail and they're cooking, and then that at the end, like that day at the end where he's like stopping to get drugs, he's around police. It's like, oh, I got these nice veal cutlets and I got to stir the sauce and all that stuff. Just all that stuff intertwined, like that's as important to him as the drugs and everything. It's just such a great world and such a great set of characters. I love this movie. I won't talk too much about it because I have so much, but there's a reason. I think the thing I picked up on this time more than I have before is the relationship between Ray Liotta and his, I can't think of the actress, but his wife in the movie, and their like reaction. Yeah, when like she shows up at the prison, like starts pulling, she's like, "You fucking take it, you asshole," and like how their relationship started and all that stuff. I want to put something to bed. There's a lot of people that say Ray Liotta overacts in this movie. He doesn't. That's just he plays that he plays that larger than life character in this. He's supposed to be on drugs. He's supposed to be over the top. He's trying to.
He's fucking hyping on drugs.
Yeah,
he's hyped on drugs. He's trying. He's always wanted to be a gangster, and he's got this opportunity, and he knows not to let it. Like he has to like fit the mold that they want him to be. So he has to flit in every spot. So his overacting, his laugh is annoying, but his overacting, it's played perfectly. So.
Yeah, it's a very frenetic character, and I think that's just what he was like in real life. But like I said, there's a reason why Rags to Riches is the theme song for the Top 100. This is a fantastic movie, and I love it. Ethan and Brian, I know your take is going to be wrong on this, but...
Well, no, I mean, I've talked about this before. I talked about it last night on Logged In. We talked about this movie, and it's I think one of those movies that I can respect as a well-made film, but these mafia movies just have never been my kind of thing. So, more power to you.
This movie should have been on my list. Whoops, another mistake. Sometimes they slip through the cracks. We all know how it feels. I love this movie. It's incredible. I love everything about it. This is a movie that I think earns the length. I've seen Andrew Barr saying some things in the chat. I disagree with all of them. Ray Liotta, I actually didn't even, honestly, I don't know how I didn't hear about this because apparently it's a thing. I had never heard people say he overacts in this movie. I disagree. I think he's great in this movie. I think everyone's great in this movie. I think the music is some of the best needle drops in cinema history. I mean, it's just like it is a fun ride when it's supposed to be fun, and then it's dark and awful when it is supposed to be dark and awful. And overall, it's another movie where like Scorsese's telling you like this is bad, like these people are bad people, and this is not a good life. And some people will miss out on that, which I always think is funny. It's fantastic. I should have had it on my list somewhere.
Could you imagine sitting there and like your blood pressure spiking through the roof when somebody says something bad about Point Break, and this man has the audacity to come in the chat and say something about overacting? That shit's hilarious. Bar, take your medication.
Oh boy. Okay, that was your 24. So now we're going to go to the top 3 carousel, starting with Cody's number 23.
Okay, real quick. I need you to calm the fuck down, Zach, before I start talking, okay? I need you to calm down. I know there's other classic directors. I'm sorry, but The Apartment.
Yikes.
You fucking rat bastard!
I said I don't hate Billy Wilder. I just
What
he's
is
the only
this
thing
hell
that people talk
that we
about.
did? What?
I was about to say yikes before you said it because I knew you were going. Now I was muted.
All right, Ethan, you're number 23.
All right, we want to talk about classics. Doesn't get more classic than this. Hellraiser. So yeah, I mean, I talked about Hellraiser, Hellbound, Hellraiser 2. I love that movie, but it does not top the first movie, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Number one, Clive Barker did write and direct this one, and he has a really I love Clive Barker's movies, obviously, but he has such a reverence for the characters in these movies, where he and the mythology that he builds and these worlds he creates that just makes it so easy to step into those worlds and to be terrified by them. And Hellraiser, it plays with such realistic experiences in these insane, unrealistic ways. Like the whole conceit of people finding this puzzle box and trying to solve it so that they can experience the heights of pain and pleasure that these interdimensional beings can give them is just so fascinating to me. It's such a fun idea, really high concept, which I love. There's so many great lines in this movie. They're like, what are you? He's like, angels to some, demons to others. So good. Doug Bradley. There's a reason that Pinhead is iconic, even though he's not people forget that he's not the villain of this movie. It's Julia. Julia is the villain and Uncle Frank. There's the whole section where they're killing people, and Frank's body is coming back to life as he absorbs these other men. And all the effects are so fun. Like the practical makeup effects and the gore stuff is fantastic. The scene in the beginning of the movie where Frank gets just torn apart is so great. And then all the Cenobites. I mean, there's 4 Cenobites, and each one of them feels so distinct and creepy for different reasons. And it's so fun to just you don't get too much of them in the first movie. It's kind of the perfect amount because you get a few shots and you're looking at them. You're like, oh my God, what's going on here and there? I just want to I don't know. I could watch a million Hellraiser movies, even the bad ones are fun because you get to see more Cenobites and stuff. But this movie really just set the bar very high for me, and it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. I really like Clive Barker, and I love the Cenobites and the puzzle box and all that stuff.
Yeah, this one's definitely better than the second one. This is by a lot. Yeah, I watched this for the first time. Same time I watched Hellraiser 2 because I was watching it for a match I was playing against you. And I was surprised by, first of all, how small scale it was. I didn't expect that, just how it was basically just all took place in that house. And it was just about that girl and her family. I don't understand how Pinhead is the most iconic Cenobite, or the most iconic monster come out of this, because he's the third scariest Cenobite. And Uncle Frank is horrified in this. Those scenes where he first starts coming back are just some of the creepiest, grossest stuff I've ever seen in a horror movie. And we've said this a lot tonight because it's your list and it's going to be on there. But a lot of great practical effects, a lot of just great. And I love the mythology it builds. Just that idea, how the Cenobites aren't necessarily the bad guys, how they're kind of like the overseers, the judges of what people do, and just the cat and mouse game of Frank and what's her name trying to avoid them. Julia. It's a solid movie. I do think 23 is high. I'm sure you have other horror movies higher than this, but I think there's other stuff you could have a lot higher. 23 is high for it, but it's a fun little horror movie. Everybody else on Hellraiser?
No interest. Hell's good where it is. It doesn't need to be raised.
I know Pinhead. That's all I do. All I know, and I don't care. Is it Pandora's box or a puzzle box?
It's just puzzle box.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted. Okay.
This is one of those I saw back when I was binging every horror movie that ever came out. Listen, Hellraiser 2. Although I honestly don't really remember this one very well, except that the Pinhead and the rest of the Cenobites looked really cool. So.
All right, Brian, we're going to go to your 23.
My 23. Well, last week we had a Pirates of the Caribbean and Indiana Jones movie, so why not this week too? Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. A lot of people don't like this. This is the one of the trilogy because there were only 3. This is the one that they don't like nearly as much. I really enjoy this one, actually, a little bit more than the third one. It is definitely a darker story, a darker kind of take. Word is that, George Lucas was going through a divorce when he made this movie, so he was kind of in a darker place, and apparently that affected his writing or whatever. I don't know about that. But all I know is I really liked it. I mean, you take Indiana Jones, who's, kind of a character based on like these old serials, but instead of like the Nazis and all that, you put him in a completely different setting. You get to kind of see him against a whole different kind of foe. So I really like that. But he's still indie. He still is just as funny and endearing, but also just as action packed as the other ones. Willie Scott, I know a lot of people, that's their biggest complaint about this movie. She is absolutely obnoxious and annoying. That's kind of the point. She's supposed to be there to get on Indiana Jones's nerves. She's playing total damsel in distress, like to the nth degree, to the point where even he is just like, really frustrated with her. But I thought she played that part perfectly, and it was a good foil, and it created a lot of good comedy with him. Short Round in this movie, you add a kid to a movie most times, and it kind of ruins the movie. But in this case, I thought Short Round was a great addition to it. I think his relationship with Indy was excellent. I thought that you could see how they kind of had a friendship and a bond, especially in that moment where where Indy basically hurts Short Round, hits him, and later on when he gets burned and comes out of his black sleep, and you can see the remorse and that he feels and kind of their relationship there. So I thought their relationship worked really well. Obviously, the action scenes, these things are filled with them. I thought they were done very well. You have another great score from John Williams, which again lost the Oscar. I don't know how he never won an Oscar for his Raiders of the Lost Ark ones. And at least the first one lost to Chariots of Fire, which you can remember. The third one lost to Little Mermaid, which Disney took over the soundtrack race. But this one lost to what? A Passage to India. I mean, does anyone remember the score to A Passage to India? Come on, it's John Williams.
I do.
Yeah, of course you do.
One of my favorites.
Go ahead, Zach. Hum it.
One of my favorites.
But I mean, this is just a movie. I like it, not as much as the original. Spoiler alert. But this one I think is really just as much fun. And I understand that some people don't like the darker tone to it, but I enjoy it.
I don't hate this movie. I think it suffers from that Godfather 3 syndrome where it's just the much lesser movie, packed in a trilogy with two all-time greats. So it's really kind of gets crapped on. And I think the one thing I will say about this movie, I think this has, out of the three, has the best opening sequence. I just love the anything goes number, and then that chase scene with him getting poisoned and trying to get that antidote, and the whole car, and then
I love that opening,
yeah, and then him like yelling at the guy and shut the door, and his name's on the door. It's just such a great. It just fools just so many great Indiana Jones moments. But yeah, I mean, Kate Capshaw is just such a weak link in this movie, especially coming off Marion Ravenwood. Replacing her with this character, because Marion Ravenwood was such an amazing character, so well done, and just just to replace her with this like whiny, screaming, baby. I know that's the point, but it still doesn't make it any less obnoxious. Yeah, it's again, it's not as terrible as everybody makes it out to be, but I mean, 23, and the fact that you have it higher than Last Crusade is nuts.
Yep.
The fact that you have it 23 is nuts. But other than that, I'm not going to talk too as bad as you might think about it. Everybody else on Temple of Doom.
I agree that the opening is fantastic. I actually don't like the dance, the song number, but I do think the action scene and everything in the club and the car chase is great. This used to be my favorite one growing up. Actually, I like that it's darker. I think that's fine, and I like all the creepy stuff in there. I mean, obviously, you know me. I love the ripping out the heart scene is awesome. I do think that Short Round is a fun character, and he's a good character, but there's some dated moments in there that just make me like cringe now. And yeah, I agree. Willie Scott is awful. I don't care if it's intentional. Like, it is like just so hard to watch her, and that performance is so grating. And yeah, I don't know. This movie
I find her less grating than most of the characters and Do the Right Thing. Let's just say that.
Oh my god! Get the
I disagree with
out
that.
of here.
I'm gonna
Just
disagree
got
with that one.
canceled big time.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I have to say about it. I still like it, but it's definitely the weakest of the three originals. Oh, wait, really quick. Sorry, one more thing. The decision to make this a prequel is so stupid. It makes no sense. It completely ruins some aspects of the first one, where Indy is disbelieving these magic things because he experienced all that in the first one. Makes no sense.
Yeah, and unnecessary. Like, why did it have to be prequel? They could easily made this a sequel. It made no sense. You saying that this is Spielberg getting over his divorce makes a lot of sense because it seemed like he didn't give a shit what was happening. This is George Lucas was. This is the only Spielberg movie that I would describe as obnoxious. Like he has such a good control over the tone of his characters. But I think all the supporting characters is a little annoying, throughout this movie because you're saying it's the darkest, sure, but it's also the most childish in a lot of ways. Trying to use them, it's so weird that Kate Capshaw is his wife for such a long term because he shows no affection for her in this movie. Like, gives her nothing generous to work with. She is just there. You say it's the point, but the real point of the movie is to be fun, and that's just like the opposite of fun. There's nothing worse than the buzzkill. The buzzkill character. You can have her being uncomfortable and unaware. I think the better version of what that character could be is oh my gosh, I'm blanking on everything. It's too late in the night. What's the the Michael Douglas movie? Romancing in the Stone. What's her face? It's such a better
Kathleen
version
Turner?
of that. Yeah, Kathleen Turner is a better version of a character outside of their comfort zone and being really a fish out of water that comes to terms with it than what Kate Capshaw is, within this, who just is nothing more than a saddle on the back of the movie. The heart's cool. That to me was all Indiana Jones was for a long term, and all I knew is that there's a movie where they ripped out a heart.
The internet tells me I'm supposed to hate this movie, but I don't. I have fun with this movie. I still love 1, 2, and 3 of this movie. I understand that there's stuff that is questionable and she's annoying, but I'm with Brian. That's the point of her character. Like, she's supposed to be that annoying character. But, I mean, 23 is kind of fucked, especially higher than Last Crusade. Last Crusade rivals Raiders for me. I think they're really close. And which one's better? So to have Last Crusade lower than this, that's where I have to disagree with you, sir.
All right, Zach, hit us with your 23.
This would have been better if I could do this back to back, because right after Goodfellas is the mini adventures of Winnie the Pooh. What if Winnie the Pooh had a mob?
I fucking clicked on it. I thought it was a joke.
Sure, it's not my everything.
I thought it was a my everything moment. You had Goodfellas than this?
Yeah, this is a perfect movie, and it teaches us a lot about how to live life.
Kirk. Understand.
This is like very important to how to maintain our humanity on this earth. People need to like rewatch this in a deeper perspective because it was so wise on like why I think the kids' movies are about to come hot and heavy for the rest of this movie, just be ready. But I think part of why they still were so work for me as an adult is I think, adjusting your mind to that innocence that you have as a child is very important to remember what it means to live, morally on this planet. Sometimes we forego some of these because life gets difficult and challenging, but when you reduce it to the simplest forms of what it means to be nice and kind to each other, it can readjust us to be the best versions of ourselves. Kids movies really are important that way. That's part of why these are important, to help kids evolve and grow into these better humans. And then we just, we fucking watch Goodfellas and we become fucked up. And because the characters have, I think they're rounded away, but they're still like they represent, just like Where the Wild Things Are, like specific components of what a child's, it is, because so that way they can see themselves and they can see how they react in different situations. Piglet's just the word and scared one. Rabbit's the busybody, smartass, kind of selfish one. Winnie the Pooh's the kind, gentle, kind of simple one that just is chilling. These are all parts of what a kid is kind of feeling with it, how they try to develop themselves. It's how do you bring that all together to be that full, well-rounded version of us. And within this, it's also just delightful and hilarious and episodic, which is how I said these are a compilation of shorts in a way, but it is all just so lovely and chill and gentle in a way that kids' movies is forgotten. This is to me the end of the golden age, the long golden age of Snow White to Winnie the Pooh. I'm giving it 50 years of golden age of Disney because there's ones I love throughout that. because I think after that, I talked about how a lot of the way ruined anime movies, things need to become faster, need to become wittier, and they stopped the calmness that I think is important for kids to really, find, their place within a movie, but also, a way for us all to take a calm and remember what it means to be our best selves. My son, he's still learning English at this point. Because he's kind of dumb. He's a little bit of a late developer. He'll get there. But like, I'm getting so close to being able to show him Winnie the Pooh. That was my goal. It's like the first movie that we'll watch through the whole thing, and he's able to like really get it. And I just like so exhilarated about this happening at some point.
Okay, first things first, we need to pump the brakes with that title. Many Adventures is like 4 or 5. And adventures might be a stretch because these adventures are things like Winnie the Pooh trying to climb a tree, and Winnie the Pooh taking a walk on a windy day. I mean, adventures is generous. That being said, Zach, I'm not going to tell you this is the worst pick of the top 100 because you guys have picked some pretty unwatchable stuff, and it's a lot worse than this. But this is definitely the most baffling pick. I mean, basically, you're telling me, they took 3 or 4 episodes of a children's Saturday morning TV show, compiled them into a movie, and that is the 23rd best movie ever made.
It wasn't a TV show at that point.
I think you're. It might as well be. I think you're reading a lot into this. I don't disagree with you that children's movies can be important to whatever, but this one is just really, like I said, it's that's why it's like a TV show, because it's light, it's airy. It's just them being their stupid Winnie the Pooh character selves. And I get the fact, I understand you like animation. You're very in touch with your inner child. I respect that. But this is crazy. That you have this in your top 25 movies of all time. I want to look up real quick. I just want to check something.
I have my Winnie the Pooh Lego set. It got me the Legos. Right now it's having the.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's all the best.
It's fine. I just want to look something up here real quick, Zach.
Sometimes I feel like Zach's 7 years old.
No,
that's okay. Like I said, I mean, there's so many animated movies.
Adult.
I think you are too.
So many animated movies that are better than this and have more to say than this. That's why I do not understand. I'm looking at something else, but everybody else go ahead and talk about Winnie the Pooh while I'm doing that.
I've gotten a lot of shit for a long time, but I hate Winnie the Pooh. I don't understand the appeal for Winnie the Pooh. Listen, as a fellow chunky guy, fucking eat your honey and shut the hell up. Like, I don't need to hear you go, like, shut up. Rabbit's a dickhead that wants everybody out of his damn garden. Why don't you help people? Give them some food. Like, Piglet, stop being freaking scared. Eeyore. Now, that's the real person they should have centered this whole thing around. That's somebody I can get behind. Oh, no. He knows what reality is. He knows that this earth is depressing. And
you're just making my whole fucking point. That's a thought to become a miserable asshole, and sometimes you need to chill the fuck out and watch Winnie the Pooh.
No, absolutely not. Incorrect. I would have dumped Pooh as a friend, like, out of Jump Street. The moment he got his head stuck in another tree trying to get honey, I'd be like, stay there, fat ass. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm a big guy and I ain't getting stuck in trees. I don't know what the hell you're doing. So, you know what? I'm going to take an adventure to find another group of friends that are not so stupid. So, peace.
Okay, I found it here. Zach currently has 2,449 movies logged on Letterboxd. And then out of those 2,400 movies, this is the 23rd best ever.
Yeah, it's probably too low.
Oh my god!
I'm not rabbit of this community. No, not a chance. That's rude, Bar.
So I don't remember if I liked Winnie the Pooh as a kid or not. But I know as an adult I hate him. I can't stand Winnie the Pooh. When I had my kids and people started giving me stuff, for baby shower stuff, I told everyone, if you give me anything with Winnie the Pooh, I will be returning it. My kids will not own anything with that stupid ass Winnie the Pooh on it. Because I hate it. I don't want it in my house. I find his voice annoying as hell. I want to kill myself when I hear him talk. Oh man, I'm not quite as animated about it. No pun intended. As Cody, but yeah, Winnie the Pooh is not for me at all.
Zach, is this the one where he gets stuck in Rabbit's window?
I mean, possibly.
Yeah,
he gets
so- yeah,
stuck
he-
everywhere.
Yeah.
Okay, because if it is,
that's his bit.
if it is, then I think I've seen it. If not, I'm not sure. I actually liked Winnie the Pooh a lot growing up, and I don't know. I don't mind Winnie the Pooh. I still kind of like it. I don't. I mean, like I like it for what it is. I'm not like sitting here watching Winnie the Pooh. Don't worry. But like, I don't. I mean, I can't say that I've seen this one recently at all. Like, probably not since I was a little child. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, 23 is like. I mean, I've had some interesting picks up in my 30s, but like 23, man, is really.
Answer me this, Zach. He has a fucking shirt on. Why the fuck doesn't he have pants on? No one's ever been able to answer it for me. What's the point of wearing a shirt if you? That means he's nude. I'm sorry.
Cody, it's because
That
he has no
man's
dick.
proud of his ass.
Well, too bad his friends have to put their heads up to it to
If
pull
you
his
guys-
ass out of things.
If
all
you
the
guys
time.
think this is crazy, I'm really worried about the rest of my fucking list.
And
I
Mark
can't
and
wait.
Chuck, I don't. Brian hates Joy. Cody hates Joy. No, Mark, you just
Yeah,
need to grow up sometime.
Yeah.
Just grow up, Mark. You're
We
fine.
don't like movies made for 3-year-olds, so we hate Joy.
I
for some reason.
never show it to my kids. Never. It will never play on my TV.
Nope.
My TV is too expensive for that shit to play. Sorry. No, thank you.
A little black rain cloud.
I'll show them Goodfellas. I'll show them Goodfellas like Mike
Tree.
Hanley. Make him turn out to be Mike Hanley. That's a.
Hey, I also said I watched Goodfellas when I was 6. So I had a real-rounded childhood.
You always wanted to be a gangster.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn, isn't it?
Yeah, you're shooting 22.
Oh, now Lucas
my-
showed up.
Here you go. You send out your call. What that take? Well, thanks for adding to the chat. This movie might get yikes. I'm not sure. Probably it's most considered the best movie of all time. IMDb sure did for a long time. It's Shawshank Redemption. Does anybody have the Shawshank Redemption?
Wow.
Fucking Nick, too. The guy just earned so many brownie points in your fucking ass. Let's go.
Because we're not bored-ass motherfuckers.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you just sat back there with your Winnie the Pooh, you bitch.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, Zach. Take a couple plays off here, Zach.
The Shawshank Redemption. I just watched it this week, yesterday actually, and this movie if any movie should be burned, like the overhype is so high to make you think this movie is not good, it's probably this one, because when I first watched it, it was very high up on a lot of people's list and how it is, and it earns everything that this movie does. I'm trying to think of my words. Tim Robbins and Morgan Freeman's performance in this is just unmatched of a buddy relationship through movies. I think the heart that they both show, the journey that he goes through, this entire thing of Tim Robbins of finding his way out. But I think the real star of this movie is the warden. I think the warden of this movie is one of the biggest motherfuckers in any movie ever. Like, I hate that guy with a fiery burning passion. I mean, this movie's been talked to death, so I won't talk too much. But I think it's like the story it tells, basically, the leaving the prison, the people that are never able to like go back to normal life. I think Brooks's part is just so heartbreaking. And then even when Freeman's character gets his parole. Sorry if you haven't seen the movie, but go watch this fucking movie. When he gets parole, even him trying to consider like this, but Andy Dufresne basically giving him the encouragement to keep going and to find a way out of the situation that he's in, and they're able to live that life out together. I think this movie is absolutely incredible. It's dark, it's unsettling, it's got hope, joy. It makes you feel every emotion throughout of it. And "Get busy living or get busy dying" is one of the best quotes from this movie. Fantastic.
Yeah, first of all, can we mute Lucas, because I don't want Zach to have any encouragement in his terrible takes. Yeah, this is another movie I won't say too much about because I've talked about it a lot. But yeah, this is fantastic. It's great. Great characterizations, great story of just friendship and survival and finding a way to survive in that situation. The combination of the warden and Hadley, the two of them together, just as that 1-2 punches of villains is so good. Because the thing about this movie, and this is another one I think that earns its length. It's a long movie, but it needs to be that long because it's a 20-year span. And there's ebbs and flows. Some people are, at a certain point are like the really, really bad guys. It's other points are not that bad. It's a realistic, progress through their lives. That's just how that's how it really would be. You wouldn't hate somebody all the time, or they wouldn't always be dangerous to you. Sometimes they help you out. And that's one of the things I really love about this movie is just how deep all the characters are. I mean, obviously Morgan Freeman's great in it, but yeah, it's just so good. It's probably the best prison movie ever.
I just think there's just parts of it, like, and especially with the warden, like when he brings everybody in and he's like, "Trust in the Lord, but your ass belongs to me." Yeah. Like, and it was like, "Oh, I'm innocent." And they just beat the shit out of the guy and the thing. But the ending when the Morgan Freeman's that's the last thing he did, or the last thing he thought. Well, for that bullet, and
that ending is one of the great reveals of all time. That scene where he throws, "How about you, Fuzzy Britches?" and he throws the rock, and just
fucking poof out of nowhere.
Yeah, like a fart in the wind. And when they bust through that poster, that scene, that shot of them all looking in, and then from that moment for the rest of the movie, just how and then just
he crawled through
all the payoffs there, it's just so good.
And came out cleaner on the other side. It's so good.
Okay, everybody, Ethan and Brian, I'm sure your take on this isn't as wrong as Zach's, but what mistake did you guys make in life to not have this on your list?
I think it's a really good movie. I honestly do. I just don't think it's like one of the best of all time that people rave about, number one on IMDb and all this stuff. And I do think that has kind of hurt its opinion to me, is that people just completely like overpraising and overhyping it, which I honestly think it's a really good movie. Now would it make my top 100? Probably not, but it really has affected to me sometimes when I talk about this movie to people and they just rave about it, and especially the whole IMDb thing. I'm just kind of like, really, it's good, but.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar boat where I think it's a great movie. It's a great movie. And growing up, it was one of my favorites. It was on TV all the time, and I watched it all the time, and I loved it. But I do think it has kind of the same thing for me as Forrest Gump does, where it's like, I think it does get overpraised, and I do think that the absolute reverence people have for it is like the best movie ever made makes me like it a little less, which is not the movie's fault. It's unfair to the movie, but it's just how it works for me, unfortunately. But I do think it's a great movie. I just think it's not one that kind of falls into my taste as much anymore. But it's a great movie.
My words were not taking on context, but misunderstood. I don't think it's a boring movie. I think you're bored for having this on the list. I think you just need exciting picks. Justice for Fear pitch. The movie's enjoyable. It's fine. The problem why it doesn't rise above is the sense of nostalgia that it gives for prison, where it makes it seem like prison is this warm, cuddly place to hang out. Like it makes, and watch it, I'm like, man, I want to go to prison. I'll make friends with Morgan Freeman and other people. And it's just like a bad idea. It should handle that context a little more. The main thing I'm all salty about is like
when the sisters show up, I want to see how cozy you think.
Yeah, and the way that is filmed is like too soft and too warm. It's not tragic. The main issue that I'm having, why I'm all salty, is because I'm going to get screwed on my ranking tonight because there's not enough prison rape in Winnie the Pooh.
Maybe that's why I wasn't wearing pants. He was just waiting for it.
This bastard doesn't act like we had so much crossover in every list and calls my list boring. Sorry, I didn't put Winnie the Pooh, dumbass. I guess it's Bell Restrict.
Yeah, your number 22, Ethan.
Oh, yeah. My 22. Wait, my 22? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My 22 is Beetlejuice.
Really?
Yeah. So, listen, I love horror movies. I love horror comedies. Beetlejuice is not strictly a horror movie, but it is a spooky movie, and I love spooky movies. Halloween's my favorite time of the year. This movie feels like it just feels like Halloween time for me. It's Tim Burton at his absolute best. It's before he had the easy toys of green screens and CGI, and he had to rely on practical effects and sets and stop motion for a lot of effects, which is really fun. And he put so much care and love and imagination into this movie. It's so funny. It deals with like really dark subject matter in a really light way. Michael Keaton is incredible in this movie. This is like probably my favorite Michael Keaton performance, which I know some people are going to be, they're going to disagree with me, but it's incredible. He's so much fun. Gina Davis, always great. Winona Ryder, fantastic. A great Alec Baldwin performance. People forget, like, he used to be really sexy. This is a sexy Alec Baldwin, and it's great. It's great to see. Catherine O'Hara, everyone, the whole cast is fantastic. It's so much fun to watch. There's all these bits, like the Deo scene and the whole scene where they go into the underworld, and there's all the people who have died in fun ways. It's such a blast to watch. All the effects and the big crazy numbers that they do in it are really great. My only issue that I have with this movie is that the ending is a bit abrupt, but it's such a crazy manic movie anyway that it doesn't really ruin it or anything for me. And I think the ending is really fun, and it kind of ties up the story nicely. And it's just, I love the aesthetic of it, and early Tim Burton, some of my favorite stuff. Yeah, this movie's awesome.
Yeah, I think this movie hits the tone that Burton's always going for better than any. It captures that feel that I think a lot of his movies want to have but don't. The practical effects are great. I think this is before that Tim Burton look was way overdone, and there's just a lot of cool looking stuff there. Michael Keaton is fantastic, like you said, Gene Davis and Alec Baldwin. I love the afterlife world that they create, and the afterlife is a bureaucracy, and then have just wait for you to wait in line and wait in a waiting room and fill out paperwork and stuff like that. I think it's a lot of fun and a really good take on that, and just like all the seance scenes and everything. Just what's the guy's name? Ortho? Is that
Otho?
Otho, yeah. He's a really fun character. It's a good movie. Again, I wouldn't have this on my list. 22, I definitely would have it there. But it's one of those movies where it's definitely worth a spot on the top 100. Everybody else on Beetlejuice.
I think Beetlejuice is a lot of fun. This is like you said. I think this is Tim Burton at his best, where he's kind of it's whimsical and odd, but it's also a little bit dark, but without being trying going too hard into being dark and broody. Kind of when he was doing this and Pee-wee's Big Adventure and kind of stuff like that. I think that's where Tim Burton really thrives. And yeah, it's a fun performance from everybody across the board, especially Michael Keaton. I don't know if it's his number one best, but it's definitely one of his best performances.
I love Beetlejuice. I think sometimes Michael Keaton can go a little over the top in it. That is why it just doesn't rise to one of my favorites. But I think the world building's really, really great. I think the production design with Spirit World and everything is really remarkable and fun to see. And yeah, another one that just for the the counterculture of kiddom is important for kids to have to support their dark side. Just go where they are.
This is the best Tim Burton movie I've seen, and it's still probably 3.5 stars for me. I just haven't watched it enough, I would say, to make it climb over that arc for me. But Michael Keaton is insane in this movie. I think this is top 5 of his best performances. So it definitely fits your list. So
I know it's late in the game, but one thing I think we need to add to the drinking game is anytime someone says they like the musical better, you drink.
We don't have
the musical came after this one, so I don't agree with that shit.
We would all die of alcohol poisoning.
We don't have Koho Holzman on the show, so it's not going to be as much.
Hey, Lucas, I'm glad that you showed up, but I said top 5. Shut up.
Okay. So we go to Brian's number 22.
My number 22 was yikes from somebody from earlier. Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
There we go.
3 yikes for me.
Still a yikes or yikes from you earlier?
No, previously.
Okay.
Me at least.
Yeah. So Monty Python, contrary to anything Kirk is about to tell you, remains one of the best comedy troupes of all time. They are hilarious. There is not a weak link in the bunch. Every single one of them plays any number of characters perfectly. This was their first movie as a troupe, and it remains their best movie. Their style, it's very odd. It's very silly. It's nonsensical, but somehow it all works, and it's hilarious. It's full of classic scenes, from the 3 Questions with Tim the Enchanter to arguing politics with Dennis the Peasant, the Killer Bunny Rabbit. I love how they just kind of play with the breaking the fourth wall kind of thing, where they have they escape one of the monsters because the animator has a heart attack. Things like that are great. There's the whole modern day historian talking about it, and he comes by and gets killed, which makes the end of the movie, I thought, was genius. The end of the movie where basically they're about to charge the castle, and then the cops come and just arrest everybody, and then the camera goes out. And the first time I saw that, I literally sat there for a couple minutes going, wait, is that the end? And I thought that was just done genius. I thought it was so unusual, and it was so Monty Python. The ending worked perfectly, the way it just kind of ends so abruptly. But yeah, I mean, this is a classic movie. I mean, this is, I'm not going to do it, Cody, sorry, but almost every line in this movie is totally quotable. So yeah, Kirk, tell me why you're wrong. Oh wait, no, Ethan first talk, then Kirk can tell us why he's wrong.
Yeah, I'll just add on to this. First, I'll say that Kirk, if we're doing that drinking game, take a shot, because someone else mentioned that they think the musical's better about this one too. But this movie it's incredible. It's so funny. I know Kirk's gonna tear it apart, and everything he's gonna say about it is true, but for the wrong reasons. He's gonna say it's stupid. He's gonna say that it's nonsense and all that, and it is, but it's stupid nonsense done by very intelligent, funny people, and it makes the nonsense very, very funny. I mean, yeah, like Brian said, we could sit here quoting this movie all night because it's just that funny. But he talked about the fourth wall breaks and the meta humor, and like it's so clever, it's so fun. The whole cast is great. I remember as a kid, the first time I saw this, I loved it, but I hated the ending because I was like, "What do you mean the cops? Like, what is?" Because I was like too young to really get it and like think that was funny. And then watching it back now, I'm like, that's so incredible. It's so much better than if they had actually like found the Grail or something. Like whatever, it's the perfect ending. I could watch this movie on repeat. It holds up so well. Kirk, man, and Kirk loves the Marx Brothers, but he hates movies like this that like. Oh my God. It's a similar type of humor. Like I don't understand how like the opening.
Except this is so much better. Marx Brothers is awful. But anyway,
I agree. This is better than Marx Brothers. You have that clip in the beginning of the show where Groucho
that's like
says,
clever and funny and actually had some thought going into it.
Not even the slightest.
A 4-year-old could read this. Someone go get me a 4-year-old. That's like the same kind of dad joke stuff you get in this movie and like Top Secret Airplane. So I don't know why Kirk doesn't like it, but I love these movies.
Yeah, I've talked about this a lot, so I'll just say it's not funny. I mean, it's objectively not funny. You can say it's funny, but you're absolutely wrong. I said it in my Letterboxd review, and it's completely accurate. Watching this movie is like going to a child's birthday party, like a 4 or 5-year-old's birthday party, and they hire a clown, and like the clown is just doing like dumb 4-year-old birthday party clown stuff. And you're sitting in the back watching it because you're kind of stuck there because your kids are there, and your kids are mildly amused because like on a 4-year-old's level, it's kind of funny, but from an adult, like an intelligent adult, like there's no level of humor at all. It's just the dumbest crap. Shrubbery is a funny word. Let's dedicate 15 minutes of our movie to the word shrubbery because that's hilarious. It's just the dumbest humor. I mean, to compare this to the Marx Brothers is ridiculous. The Marx Brothers is clever, it's witty, it's thought out. This is just every like stupid, dumb, obvious joke you could think of. It's not funny. I mean, and these people are funny. Like outside of this, like I'm not saying like these aren't funny people, but they got together and made a really, really awful, unfunny movie. And Life of Brian is so much better than this. Zach and Cody on Holy Grail.
You said strawberry, and 3 of us giggled, so I think it's a pretty funny word. Pretty funny. Berry in general, pretty good. I have nothing intelligent to say. I find it really funny. I think it's really good.
The movie's ass. This movie's ass. Life of Brian's ass. Anything for the Marx Brothers is ass. I'm sorry. This is your kind of humor. Regardless of what group tells you or what group says it, I'm sorry, not funny. This has always been touted as one of the funniest comedies. Fuck that. I'm sorry. British humor is just not my thing, and that's okay. And I'm okay.
Humor's not your thing.
That's possibly true. Have you seen Major League? Hilarious. Good one. Way better than this movie.
Comedy.
So yeah, I've never understood this. I've just never have. And then the people that rewatch it make me want to like, how do you laugh again with this? You know it's coming. Oh, like I laugh at one part of this entire movie.
Here's the trick, Cody. Here's the thing. There's nothing to get. There's nothing there. So stop looking. Let's move to Zach's number 22.
My 22, Inglourious Bastards. Yikes.
Oh, yikes.
Right.
Yikes.
Oh.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh.
So going to go to everybody's top movie for the night, starting with Cody at number 21.
We have talked about a lot of horror movies on this. And I know a lot of people are going to be, holy shit, Cody has a horror movie this high up. I do. I actually do. This movie is one of the scariest movies from the 1950s. It's called Sunset Boulevard. And it doesn't work in the traditional horror sense. You know, it doesn't have like practical effects. Like she doesn't like go in this like closet and with a fly and then come out and become a fly. She is just this. This story, I think, is so strong. And I know there's a few nitpicks on this from people on this panel that like the narration throughout this gets like it's too much for people, or that Gloria Swanson like overacts. That's the part of the point of her character. Just a silent film star finds this guy in Hollywood as a failed screenwriter, basically brings him in, becomes infatuated with him, basically doesn't allow him to like want to have anything else, and she just believes that her future star is she's a silent film star. She's gonna come back and become this great star again and work with Cecil B. DeMille, and all they're calling her for is to rent like her car and stuff, but she doesn't see it. She just sees like the stars. It's got one of my favorite quotes is the pictures have gotten small. Like she's not small, but the pictures have gotten smaller. Like she's still like that top-notch actress. And like, I just feel like how this is probably one of the most quoted lines in cinema ever is the "I'm ready for my close-up," but it's so misused, and it's so like what ties into that scene at the end is so like how fully dissented she has into her madness and what she believes that is happening and what's really happening. It's just crazy. I find this movie so rewatchable. I think that's the reason why I like Billy Wilder so much. And I know there's other classic directors working. Please don't shoot me. But I feel like he can play in every sandbox and hit in every sandbox. Like this considered like a psychological thriller like back in the time, and I still think it holds up, and I still think like it has old Hollywood feels, and like think about those stars that still, and she's trying everything to get her for a comeback that's never happening, and she doesn't see it. And William Holden is fantastic throughout this movie. He's one of my favorite classic actors working today. So Sunset Boulevard. They're going to remake it into a musical, everybody. I know the musical's already out. You probably like the musical better than Sunset Boulevard, the original, but this one's better. So, yeah.
I love Sunset Boulevard. This is my favorite Wilder movie. And yeah, he just makes, and I think this is the best example of it, he just makes such modern feeling movies. Like I remember the first time I watched this, and it was one of those ones where like with like a Casablanca or something like that, where you hear people hype it up so much. And this is one that definitely lived up to the hype, and just how modern it feels. Like I feel like they could make this movie. This movie could have been made yesterday, and it would have, definitely felt completely natural. Nora Desmond's such a great character. She's so terrifying. Just that complete lack of self-awareness, and that world she lives in her own head. And just that idea of time, like she's scary, but also her situation is scary. Just that idea of like having been completely passed by, and not being able to deal with it. The score is fantastic. The score is really great. I don't mind the narration because I think at least, especially at the very beginning when he's pretty much on his own, you need that narration. Otherwise, you're dragging out the runtime, with a lot of scenes that explain stuff you need to know. So I don't hate it. I don't have a problem with it. But yeah,
and
I
her
love
butler,
Yeah.
her butler that's like helping with the madness,
Yeah.
and like doesn't
Enabling
realize
her.
it, and like he even and his like ending where he seems like so sad because he just couldn't save her out of her
Yeah.
own thing. It's great.
Yeah, he's the star of that third act of that movie. Like when you
Yes.
find out like his backstory, and just his ending and how he like brings her down. So good. Such a great movie. Everybody else, why didn't you have Sunset Boulevard?
I like Sunset Boulevard quite a bit. I think just like how I respond to movies and water movies, my two favorite are, Department I Already Yiked and Stalag. I think because I just like more into charm and hanging out and like likability, and this is more in the noir, versions. There's some double indemnity that has a level of engagement with me and interest, and I think I can really appreciate the craft as much as rewatchability. It's just never going to be there as much for me. It's also just for a Wilder movie, not enough insurance. There needs to be more insurance agencies.
I like Sunset Boulevard. I just watched it the first time a couple years ago for trivia. Actually, I watched it, I think, a second time since then, also for trivia. But I enjoyed it both times. I am one of those people that thinks that Gloria Swanson's overacting is a little much. I understand she's supposed to be a bad actress and she's kind of in her own little world, but she really overdoes it with the bug eyes and the gritting teeth and stuff. It's really kind of obnoxious, but it's still a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is great. It is one that I kind of went into hoping that I'd have the Casablanca feeling with, and I didn't necessarily. I don't know why. It didn't connect with me as much as that did. I still really like it, but I do have to disagree, though. I think that performance is perfect for what that character is. It's like I think it works so well. But yeah, I don't like love it. It's not a movie I'm gonna like watch over and over again.
All right, Ethan, we'll go to you for your 21.
All right, my number 21. Surprise, surprise. The Charlie Kaufman movie got adaptation, baby. This movie, this is one of the most genius things ever written, and I don't care if it's been said too many times. But yeah, this movie is it's perfect. The script is so complex, and the story, and so I mean, for anyone who doesn't know, which I'm sure it's well known by now, but this movie is basically about Charlie Kaufman, the character, trying to write an adaptation of a book by this woman, Susan Orlean, and not being able to, and how he gets lost in the adaptation of it, and how it ends up becoming this like crazy, like mystery murder thing, like this big Hollywood story or whatever. And as the character is writing this script, trying to do that, the movie that he's in is becoming that kind of movie. And like the fact that this is the adaptation that Charlie Kaufman turned in. This is the script he turned in when they said adapt this book, blows my mind. And then the fact that it still got made is so incredible. He created a fictional twin brother named Donald Kaufman for himself, who was so likable and so real feeling that he dedicated the movie to Donald, and Donald Kaufman was nominated for best adapted screenplay for this movie. He does not exist. He was nominated for an Oscar. Charlie and Donald together were nominated for Oscars. Nick Cage. I love Nick Cage. Yes, he's got a lot of over the top, crazy performances that you can like or not. This performance is legitimately great. He does a really good job as this like neurotic guy that Charlie Kaufman is, and playing the two characters very differently. Like Donald and Charlie are very distinct characters in this movie. And just watching them interact is great. Spike Jonze is one of my favorite directors. His style is really interesting, and he just injects so much. I don't know. It's just his movies feel very unique, and there's certain things about this movie. I mean, it's like one of the most meta movies ever, but also, like they're on the set at one point for Being John Malkovich, which I just think is so fun. Like if you watch Being John Malkovich and this back to back, they just work so well as a perfect pair of Charlie Kaufman, Spike Jonze craziness. Chris Cooper in this movie is so fucking good. I think he won the Oscar for this one. He's so good as this misunderstood like redneck, like Orchid Thief, and then Meryl Streep, obviously, like I'm not always a huge fan of her because she sometimes for me does the same beats, but she's really, really good in this movie. And the author of the original book has come around and loves this movie. She loves what they did, and I don't know how you couldn't, because it's just such a unique, bizarre, brilliant way to do an adaptation of a book.
Yeah, like it's a lot of fun, just how meta it is. I love that scene where they're on the set of Bijan Malkovich and John Cusack shows up just for like a second. He just like walks on and waves to him. And yeah, just the idea of making this movie about himself, trying to do this is, again, you said everything about it. It's just such a great idea. When you can't do it, when you can't adapt it, do something like this. And not a lot of people would come up with that. I love that, that Spike Jonze, that high concept stuff that he does with Charlie Kaufman. So again, I mean, I think I like being John Malkovich a little better. I think 21's a little high for this, but still pretty solid movie. Everybody else on adaptation?
I haven't seen it.
This is my favorite Charlie Kaufman movie. Some of his stuff gets a little too out there for me, but I do like some of it. And this one is by far my favorite. Like you guys talk about, I love the meta aspect of it. I kind of wish I could have been there when he handed in the script to see how they would have reacted to this. Like, wait, we asked you to adapt this book, and this is what you bring us. That would have been great. But yeah, I mean, Nicolas Cage, he's a really good actor when he wants to be. I mean, like you said, he did get Oscar nominated for this. His only other one besides his win for Leaving Las Vegas, I think. Chris Cooper won. Meryl Streep was nominated. It's a really good movie. I also think Brian Cox has a small part, and he did a really good job in this as well.
Yeah. And too.
What? Oh, Zach, you got to watch this.
I would probably with it.
I feel like Zach would like it.
Yeah. Weird that Zach hadn't seen this.
I consider it as a blind spot. Like a big one.
That's surprising.
All right, Brian, you're number 21.
I think this is where this ends. Jurassic Park. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say that hasn't been said already, including on other episodes of Your List Sucks. Jurassic Park is kind of the perfect movie as far as summer blockbuster style of movies go. I've said before how I kind of gravitate towards the fun Spielberg, and this definitely falls in that category. It's amazing to me that he made this the same year. This got released the same year as Schindler's List, which kind of shows the different sides of Spielberg. But yeah, as far as this one, I mean, nobody does that sense of wonder like Spielberg, and he also does a great adventure like with the Indiana Jones movies. And with this movie, you kind of got both of those together in one. He much like his early movies like Jaws, they kind of tease the dinosaurs for the first hour. So when you finally do see them, you really feel like you're there, like with Sam Neill. You're seeing dinosaurs, and once again, John Williams' score really contributes to every moment, whether it be the scary moments or the more the sense of wonder, things like that. But yeah, I mean, most of the cast you hadn't really heard of before this movie, or at least I hadn't heard of before this movie. I mean, I knew Jeff Goldblum, and I think I'd heard of Laura Dern, but the rest of them, for the most part, I mean, it's full of a lot of faces that I'd probably seen elsewhere, but I didn't. So I mean, there weren't really stars. The star of this movie was the dinosaurs and the special effects, which this movie kind of revolutionized visual effects for the rest. I mean, ever since then, for the next several decades, because I mean, you kind of saw some CG stuff kind of come into its own with Terminator 2, some of that, but this one was like leaps and bounds above, and everything there. I mean, even to this day, I watch Jurassic Park, and the dinosaurs in there just seem 100% real. It still holds up almost 30 years later, and really, that's for better or for worse. They kind of introduced CGI for the movies, but that's just on a technical level. Even on a story level, I just love this movie. Like I said, it kind of got the sense of wonder. It's fun. It's the perfect blockbuster summer movie. It's got fun and scares and adventure and everything.
Who else had this?
Some others
I think we all had it. I'm not sure.
I didn't have it.
What the fuck do you think?
Cody, where'd you have that?
I think we all have Jaws at least.
I had it at 32. I had 32.
Where'd you have it? Zach, where'd you have it?
Like 50 something.
Okay, so Cody, you go first.
I just always wish that I'm not as old as some people. They got to see this in the theaters the first time, but I wish I could go back to the very first time I saw this movie. And when they go to the park the first time and that score hits in, it's just something it's just a magical movie to me. Do I wish the Raptors would have ate like the kids? Yeah, I think they would have probably put it at number 1 of all time. I think those have to rank in like the top 10 most annoying children of all time. But the reason why I relate so high is because I'm Sam Neill and having to take care of those damn kids in that situation. He's just nicer, and they got to see the end of the movie. I would have pushed him down and got the hell away from him. But yeah, it's just magic. This movie is just absolute magic. I think the cars outside the gate when the cable starts snapping and fucking Lex has to like scream and show the light to the eye for the first time, and you hear the scream. That's like 7 different animals combined into one to make the T-Rex sound. Yeah, it's a masterclass. I think this is Spielberg's most watchable movie. I think overall, is it his best? People can argue if you're Mike Hanley, yes, but this movie is just magic. So.
I got to see it in theaters on my birthday this year, and it was a lovely way to spend my post-vaccinated birthday in theaters watching fucking legendary movie like Jurassic Park with my wife. It was lovely. We're 3 hours in. There's lots I can say about how great Jurassic Park is, but really what it cuts down to and all that really matters is dinosaurs are fucking rad.
Yeah, this is a great movie. Brian, you took the words right out of my mouth. That sense of wonder it entails. That scene where they see the first dinosaur and just their reaction to it, where you see their reaction first. And I love Goldblum's line there. He really did it. That son of a bitch, he did it. Yeah, but then like it goes from that like childlike sense of wonder to also at certain times being like a straight up horror movie, and like everything in between. It does so many things so well. The effects are great. Like I can't believe like in 90, like when Call of the Wild came out last year, I was like, why in 93 were we able to get like real dinosaurs, but in 2020 they can't give us a realistic dog? Like it just doesn't make any sense that like they were never, even in the sequels, they were never really, well, maybe in 2, but they were never really recapture this, like that combination of effect of digital and practical. And it's just so seamless how they do that. Like if you watch like, behind the scenes stuff, like, when they cut from a puppet to CGI and back and all that, it's so well done. It's just so perfect. I had this a little lower on my top 100.
You did 92.
Yeah, but I mean, this is one like no matter where you have. I mean, definitely
Under Pacific Rim.
It's definitely better than. It's definitely worth a spot wherever on top 100. It's not. I'm trying to do the math real quick in my head. I think it's probably top 3 Spielberg for me. Definitely top 5. But that's nothing against. I mean, Spielberg has so many great movies. Obviously, that even number 5 is solid. I'd have to go back and see exactly where, but yeah, I love this movie. Ethan, why'd you skip Jurassic Park?
I think this one probably could have made my list in another life. I love this. I love Jurassic Park. It's great. I agree with everything everyone said already. The practical effects are fantastic, and the seamless blending between the CGI and that. And even the CGI holds up pretty well, which is crazy because it's better than a lot of CGI you see now, which is nuts. I love the cast, I mean, everyone's great. Sam Neill, Laura Dern, Jeff Goldblum, like that's like a holy trinity of great actors in this movie. Yeah, I don't know. I probably should have had it on my list at some point somewhere. I'm not sure where it got lost for me, but it's a great movie.
If the T-Rex would have knocked over the Jeep with his dick, then it would have been instantly on the
Well,
list.
that's like top 10 material. I mean, come on.
Right.
All right, Zach, you're going to close us out with your number 21.
Yeah, my second straight 2009. 2009, underrated for having 2 bangers by some of the best working directors. This is fantastic, Mr. Fox. Wes Anderson's stop motion. Of course, 2 things love. Wes Anderson, fucking animation and stop motion, all in one. Who knew that he was like the perfect director to work, in stop motion? And you're all saying how much I love kids' movie. This is like barely a kids' movie, and I don't know when it's just my kid. Not because I think it's like still calm and innocent in its way, but like I just don't think kids can get it or vibe with it because it has this like very Wes Anderson quirk to it. Everything's a little stilted in a very specific manner. Like the emotions are there and they're kind of in the subtext, but they're just a little like glossed over. They're a little defeated and the personality of the characters and the line reads. That's just how he writes his scripts or directs the actors at least. but this is based on the Roald Dahl book, Fantastic Mr. Fox. That was probably my most read book as a child. For some reason, this is the one I clung to. I was really into animals, really into Roald Dahl, so it kind of made sense. And really extended this. The book ends 20 minutes in the movie. It extends in such a witty way. It's almost like he created his own sequels, like what happens next with the logical connections. That then helps the movie grow thematically in a way that's not in the books on identity, because this really is a movie about what does this fox, it all sounds silly as I say out loud, but it is about, when this fox cannot be the predator or the hunter that he is, how does he find, his service to his family and service to his world. And it as great fantasy movies, animation movies can do, you can create, a context for these really serious ideas that we can pull into our real life, even though this isn't a ridiculous cartoon world. But it's Wes Anderson's funniest movie, I would say. There's just such a great lines throughout it, great characters. I think weirdly between this and Rushmore, Jason Schwartzman has never been better between those two movies. I think he's just great with Wes Anderson lyrics. His voice reading of all this is just such pitch perfect on this kid that's being overshadowed. But specifically, the best part of this movie is anytime that the sidekick possum character gets to say the word apple juice and apple juice flood. It's just the funniest thing in any movies that have ever existed. Apple juice flood, great idea. I need an apple juice flood right now. It's very physical and textural in a way that only stop motion can kind of bring. That is beautiful. I want 10 Wes Anderson stop motion movies. I need more. Bring them on.
Wes Anderson's the guy. The more I watch, the more I like his stuff. I like this movie. I think his style lends itself really well to animation. Just like the look, even though it's a cartoon, you look at it and you can see it. It definitely looks like a Wes Anderson movie. I like the visceral aspect of the animation. I like how the fur is moving because of when the puppeteers are actually moving the puppets. Their fingerprints and stuff are in there. I just like that grittiness of it. I like the fact that I like how they use the word curse as their go-to all-purpose curse word. It's just a really fun little world they build, that idea of how they play on the idea of what these animals are, and turning that into a real a human society. Everybody else, I think 21's high. They're a lot better Wes Anderson movies. I think there's better animated Wes Anderson movies.
But
I don't know what's
for
still coming.
Doesn't it make sense? And this my Gremlins too. For me, it makes sense.
Everybody else on Fantastic Mr. Fox.
I love this movie. Sorry, I'll go really quick, Cody. I think this movie is great. Everything Zach said, I agree with. Everything Kirk said, I agree with. I love the stop motion and the animation on the fur and all that. The voice cast is fantastic. No pun intended. I just think Wes Anderson's style lends itself so well to whimsical stop motion animated animals, and this movie's great. I could watch it whenever I'm feeling down.
The more Wes Anderson I watch, the more I don't like myself anymore. So no.
I have not seen it.
Good for you.
Okay, well, that takes us to the end of this episode. Let's get some winners here. This week was a lot easier than it has been past couple weeks. Cody comes in number one. He just had too many bangers there. Goodfellas, Sunset Boulevard, some of the all-time great, Shawshank. Doubt. He introduced me to Doubt for the first time. I really love that. So Cody comes in first. The rest were hard because you guys had some really high highs, but also some low lows. Number two is Ethan. Point Blank is terrible, but you also had Casablanca and The Thing. So some other good stuff on there. Alien. Nothing else on there I can complain about. Number three is Zach. It's hard to put you number three because you had Goodfellas and Glorious Bastards, but you also had Winnie the Pooh and My Neighbor Totoro and Say Anything. But that's been the story of Zach's list. Zach makes this hard for me.
You even put my everything on the board.
And coming to last place is Brian. Brian, his most of his bad stuff wasn't as bad as everybody else's, but he just didn't hit the highs that everybody else did. And that 1-2 punch of Temple of Doom and Holy Grail were tough to take. And his takes on Holy Grail definitely cemented number four. I just want to point out real quick, got lost in the shuffle here, but Zach Ford, Whiplash Zach Ford, his last four picks. Goodfellas, Many Adventures of Winnie the Pooh, Inglourious Bastards, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Gotta love this guy. Next week, are we starting early next week, Cody?
We're gonna try. If the panelists can try to get here a little earlier, that'd be great because we're going 10, 10, 10, 10, 9, 9, 9, 9 for the rest of the way. So I would encourage, and the final episode will probably be 4 hours long. So just
okay.
let everybody
So watch for updates on the Facebook page to see exactly when we're starting. We're going to schedule that, but we're going to try to get here early next week. So hope you can do. Thank you. You guys can make that too. Thank you all for sticking around in the chat. Everybody who hung out, watched, and participated. A lot of fun. We'll see you next week. Start the top 20.
You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion.
Drunk and angry. Come on, break the lousy cup. Ow! I hit my arm.
And not expect everybody to do everything.
I'm going there soon, you know.
Is that so? Where are you going?
Uruguay.
Well, you go Uruguay and I'll go mine.